We interrupt this program to bring you a special news bulletin.
We interrupt this broadcast to bring you this important bulletin from the United Press.
This is not a test. Every Tuesday, the Journey into Comics Network will bring you The Poor Rapport, your one-stop podcast shop for everything news and topics of personal interest. I am your host, Andrew Poor, and you can hear me every Tuesday.
The following is a Journey into Comics Network production.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to Journey into Comics, the podcast about everything nerd, with your hosts, Nate Phillips and Brandon Stone.
We've come a long way from the Prime Minister's exploding cake. Or have we?
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Journey into Comics. It's episode 172. I am your host, Nate, as always, joined by the illustrious Brandon Stone. Welcome.
How's it going, my friend?
Dude, it's going really great. Let's just get it right out of the way. Today is the 1st of January. It is 2018, and we are in day one of the Journey into Comics Network feature week. Cheers to that.
You're here.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah. So today we've brought some friends along for something we have not done in almost 100 episodes.
I know, dude. We had this idea around episode 40 to do it's kind of a roundtable discussion type show, and we did it again like almost 40 episodes later.
It was 89.
89. It was roundabouts. And because the idea was like, about 40 episodes, we'll do another one, because our show is typically just you and I hanging out and talking about like the latest and greatest news and views of comic books, news, movies, whatever, what everything nerd, just as the title says, we just discussed. But this is a bit different because we have a bunch of different people and everyone brings like a topic forward, and we just kind of go around the table and we each go through that topic and have an open discussion over it. And I'm pretty excited because this is the first time, and as you said, almost 100 episodes that we're coming back to this. And we've got some friends here. We actually have a Nerds of the Round Table veteran. He's been on all three now.
Yes.
Along with you and I. We'll start with him. Mike, how's it going?
It's going good. How you guys doing?
It's going pretty good. Now, Mike, you also host the Game Addicts podcast with myself.
I do.
And we air every Thursdays over on GameAddictsPodcast.com. Cheap plug. So
Love it. Cheers.
Yeah. But, welcome again, Mike. It's so good to have you again. Thank you once again for hosting us. This is your second time hosting the Nerds.
Yes.
So it'll be a really cool time. And coming up next, we have another host here on the Journey into Comics Network, the host of Podcastrophe.
What's up?
Blaine, Dick, Dongo, Tyner.
Doctor.
I'm sorry, I forgot the title.
You forgot the doctor.
Dr. Dongo. Now, you host Podcastrophe, which also comes out on Thursdays.
Yes.
Now, the streams don't cross here because both shows come out on separate channels. Of course, you're on the Journey into Comics Network. Just search journeyintocomics.com. You can get us all on your favorite, podcast services out there.
We'll get into that later.
We'll do the plugs in a little bit. But we got someone else to introduce first.
Let me tell you something. The guy we have next is quickly becoming one of my favorites on the network. He's like on all the shows. He's like we don't want to call him a whore. That's just such a bad.
I like that title, though.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you sure? Well, he was a part of one of my favorite, more recent episodes we recorded in The Last Jedi. That was 170 of Journey into Comics. Most downloaded episode in the last 3 months is that episode on our network.
Cool.
So that's the bar we have set, just so you guys know. But welcome back to the show, Tyler. How's it going?
It's going really good. Really happy to be here. Love doing podcasts.
We're really glad to have you here. You're going to actually be featured quite a lot this week. You're going to be on Journey into Comics. You're going to be on Podcastrophe. You're also going to be on Brews with Dudes.
Yes, sir.
Spoiler alert. So that's crazy. You kind of do get around. How do you how do you like podcasting?
I'm really, really getting into it.
I heard you bought your own microphone.
I did.
What kind of microphone?
Amazon. I don't remember.
You were just like
all the names and details. I just bought something that had really good reviews and that was slightly cheap, I guess.
Okay,
affordable.
Yeah, affordable. That's a better way to put it. Because I don't, right now I don't, with the holiday and everything, I don't have a big amount of capital to sink into this podcasting journey right out of the gate. But I definitely want to, contribute what I can.
Man, well, we're glad to have you join the family in some form or fashion. Who knows? Maybe someday you'll be a co-host on a show or something.
That'd be
I don't
cool.
know about any of that, but
Very possible. Wink.
all right. Well, who wants to start off first? The Nerds of the Round Table, like you said, discussion. Everybody brings a topic. We all discuss the topic. We move on. We can tangent as we feel fit. So where do you want to go with this, Brandon?
Do you want to start and work counterclockwise? Kind of how we're sitting.
You want me to be the kickoff?
No, I'm saying you be the last. And
Okay. Sure.
And we'll start with me, Tyler, Mike, Blaine, and then you.
That's
and then
fine.
Yourself, and then we'll see where we are and
See what happens.
adjust.
Sure.
So, guys, my topic has to do with fandom.
Okay.
Okay, because this is something that's kind of big and going on right now. As we're listening to fellow game addicts and bus stuff mascot Padfoot harass the cat. Makes me wonder if we can actually hear the meows on.
You're definitely going to hear them. I'm hearing them through the headphones quite loudly. It's kind of awesome. it's really great. It makes for an amazing background environment.
That's actually me making that sound.
Yeah, it's just Tyler. All right.
So we seem to be good. So the topic of fandom right now, it's like, are fans too conceited about things? Take, for example, do we expect too much out of things?
I know what you're saying. So, like, you're asking, have we as fans kind of set the bar so high it's impossible for anyone to hit that expectation?
Okay, like, for example, because the whole thing for me started with Justice League. I
Okay.
thought it was very enjoyable.
It was enjoyable.
Was it perfect?
No.
Like, not at all. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was a really good film. And then the new Star Wars, it is like, there's some people who are saying this is the worst Star Wars movie ever made, and that baffles my mind.
Yeah.
I don't understand how they can say that with episode 1 and 2.
Yes!
How can you even fathom that this is the worst one that's ever been made? Yeah, there's holes. There's holes in everything. Everybody sinks to Empire Strikes Back because, as we all know, that is the pinnacle. Like, that is the milestone of this is Star Wars.
And I think maybe just a little bit this film is set up for fail because there were some reviewers saying, oh, this is just as good or better.
Yeah.
So people walk in and go, oh, my God, this is going to blow my mind. And then they start nitpicking all this stuff because I still stand by like everything that people are complaining about this movie. Oh, it's the pacing, or this is too hokey, or this is that, or there's a hole in there. You watch any of the Star Wars movies, you're going to have that. These are not put together movies like so perfectly, like in a bow. You're telling me
They're made by George Lucas, for Christ's sakes.
Right.
a lot of them were,
Right.
yes. And I mean, and to his defense, I'm going to defend George. I'm going to defend like George for a second. His attention to detail was not absent.
Correct.
In those prequel movies, his attention, like he had all this stuff, all these little looks, all these different things he was doing, he had in mind. He's not the best character director, so when he's getting a performance out of an actor, he's not getting what Spielberg could get, or for example, maybe a Ron Howard could even get. But when it comes to like action scenes and this and that, this little detail, he's a competent filmmaker.
We'll look at episode 3, Obi-Wan versus Anakin. That is one of the best fight scenes in Star Wars ever.
And then the opening to that movie, which is probably the biggest in scope battle that we've had in Star Wars filmography yet.
Yeah.
With the whole big first 20 minutes of that movie, that is straight up badass Star Wars.
Yes.
Well, and with George Lucas's faults, is you hit the nail right on the head. He's definitely not a character director, but with the special, he is a pioneer of special effects in the film industry. You look at any film in the last 40 years, they have to take time and look at what George did this in 1977 with the original, and it was all groundbreaking. Mm-hmm. So
the miniature work that he did,
everything that
stuff.
he did, and some people complain about with the original trilogy a lot of the CGI stuff that they added. Obviously, it was bad. It was the best that they had at the time. Imagine if that CGI stuff was added now. It would be a lot better. Mm-hmm. You look at Tarkin in Rogue One.
Yes.
How can you complain about that CGI?
Can't.
My wife looked at me during the film and said, "Is that the real guy? I thought he was dead." Well, yeah. I mean,
He died in 94.
He's been gone for a long time, but to the person who's not super involved, that looks like the person all the time. So,
and also switching on you on that is the fans complaining about putting him in it.
Yeah,
how can you not have him in Rogue One? He has to be there.
Tarkin is such a central figure in the Empire.
Yes.
Like if you notice, like he's probably a bigger authority figure than Darth Vader.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, Vader he's doing his own stuff, but when you look at A New Hope, what does Leia say? Oh, how could I not have thought that you'd be here holding Vader's leash?
Right.
You know, Tarkin has worked his way up the echelon, and what's awesome. I totally forgot about this. I watched the video. I think we talked about this on the something that we're going to announce soon. My bad. Sort of crossed the streams there for a second.
That's fine. We'll get there.
Yeah, we will. But in episode 3, I watched this video. Have you guys ever heard of CinemaSins?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Everything wrong. It just counts up everything singly wrong with a movie. There's another channel called Cinema Wins, where it's like defending and it's like saying, well, let's look at everything good about this. And they did all the Star Wars prequels. And one of the things of this attention to detail, and he's just a small little walk-on role, it's right at the end of the movie where it's Palpatine, Vader looking out of the Star Destroyer, looking at the formation of what is to be the Death Star.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a young Tarkin
Yep.
walking by, leaving that little scene. And, of course, the 3 of those people right there, that is your triad of the highest form of leadership that the Empire has.
Absolutely.
So to not include him in Rogue One would be abysmal.
Well, and
it would be a travesty of justice.
Going back to the character development, you know, it helps paint director Krennic's life, you know, because the Death Star is his baby.
Yeah.
It's not his baby. That's Tarkin's baby. Tarkin is there as the, you know, second or third guy in command, and he's making sure that Krennic's not being a piece of shit the whole time, which he is.
And he takes it.
But without Tarkin in that film, I mean, who do you have? You don't have anybody to look at except director Krennic.
Right. And it's very it's not so easy all the time to completely develop a brand new villain.
Absolutely.
In this. And while I feel they did a good job with Krennic, to see that shit rolls downhill like it does for a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
You know, so we have Krennic. He's getting shit on by Tarkin because Tarkin's headed up to here with his failure.
Right.
And he's like, you think it's going to be bad for me? Think about the other 2 guys that you'll have to answer to. And of course he does at one point when we get a Vader cameo in the movie, which is amazing.
Yes,
but
The darkest, most beautiful side of Vader is that cameo in Rogue One.
When he lays down the pun.
Oh,
Don't choke on your ambition.
He's just like,
you know?
he's just a little bit there, you know.
Yeah, that the whole.
But you know, and that's the thing that just goes to nail it home. Vader's not doing that kind of shit that he does to Krennic on Mustafar to Tarkin.
No,
Well, that harkens back to that goes back to the Clone Wars. There's an episode in the Clone Wars with Tarkin and Anakin where they're like on the same page about a lot of their views, but Anakin is tied to the Jedi Order and Tarkin to the Republic's, the Army of the Republic, or wherever he was. But they were on the very same page, so they have a very mutual respect for each other all throughout their history together.
Yes.
If you notice in A New Hope, when Vader's decided to show a little bit of his strength, he's choking that dude. Who tells him to let go?
Absolutely, Tarkin, yeah.
Tarkin. All right, enough. And Vader does it because he has so much respect for Tarkin.
Yes.
Now, to circle this back around to what I was saying, I have seen nothing but I've seen so many people hating on this movie, on Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
That's all I've seen.
Have you seen the movie, Mike?
Oh, I saw it.
Okay.
D-Day.
Yeah.
Okay. So
you stopped me in the parking lot as I was driving out. I was holding up traffic, I believe,
Yeah.
and you're like, "Hey, I saw it today."
And
we rolled down our windows.
What did I say? I said there are certain things that should have happened that happened. Like bringing back Yoda as an element of the Force. Not him physically being there, but him talking to Luke. That had to happen.
Well, that was a great cameo,
has
too.
to happen. But people are bitching about some of that stuff. It's like you set the bar for Empire of like Empire. Nothing was forced. Everything just kind of rolled. This is different. This has an expectation of it has to be that good. So they have to kind of force a little bit of stuff in. Stuff has to be forced. But it's a new story. You can't look at the old story and say, well, this is the way it should be. That's not the case. It's going in a new direction.
Well, see, and here's the thing. Because a lot of people are complaining about Luke Skywalker's character. And I saw this.
I thought it was right.
We didn't even talk.
I loved it.
We didn't even talk about the most beautiful moment in that movie on our review. And Poor Boy actually told me, he's like, how you guys missed this was crazy, but the R2 and Luke moment,
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
we didn't even touch on that.
Right.
And it is such a beautiful
him playing
moment.
the message back.
Yeah. Well,
it was
and
so
it's
short.
hearkening, you know.
And he just says, like, way to take the cheap shot.
Yeah,
you know?
that he goes.
I love
cheap
that
shot.
because R2's just like, yeah, remember this?
Yeah. Now this is you.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so I saw this meme, and I couldn't disagree with this meme anymore. And it's a meme from Luke from all the 4 movies that he's in, apart from The Force, because
Right.
he doesn't say anything. But it's Luke Skywalker. You know, hi, I'm Luke Skywalker, and I'm here to rescue you. Episode 5. It's like, but Han and Leia will die if I don't rescue them. Episode 6. I have to try to save him. They're still good in him. Episode 8. Get off my island. Get off my lawn. Go away. It's like, and someone's like, I don't want to see this story. This isn't Luke Skywalker. I'm like, that's because this is Luke Skywalker 25, 30 years later who has failed.
Yep.
He is like, okay, who failed before? Obi-Wan failed.
He went into hiding.
Obi-Wan failed in training Anakin. He failed him.
Yoda failed.
Yoda
went to
failed.
Dagobah.
He led the entire Jedi Order to dust because he couldn't make any sense of the fact that a Sith Lord had the highest seat of power in the Republic. None of them could because Sidious was so good about using both sides of the Force.
Yes.
He was a chameleon. He was right in there.
And what did he say to Anakin? You have to learn both sides.
Yeah, exactly.
To be a true Jedi or Sith.
To be a true master of the Force.
You have to learn both sides of the Force.
Right.
So he is the pinnacle of to me, he is the
Honestly,
strongest
yes.
ever. Because he literally hid from everyone in plain sight.
Yes. And like, what did they do? They went into hiding. They hid. And then Luke was sought out like either by the Force or fate, if you want to say. You know, it's pretty much the same. The Force is guiding him, and Obi-Wan takes a different approach with his training. He trained Anakin so strict. He was always so forceful with him. In training Luke, what does he do? He sits back.
Hey, here's a remote.
He learns.
He just
learns from his mistake.
Yes. Same with Yoda in a sense, because now it's like he's hesitant to train because he sees so much of Anakin in Luke. But then, like, when he does, he's not necessarily training him the same way that he's trained others. He's, and then you get to Luke. In just a second here. But you get to Luke, and he trained Ben. He failed Ben. He failed all these. And now here's Rey. He doesn't want to do it. He's, I'm cut off. I'm done. But then there's that small little pull in here.
Yeah, of course.
To do the right thing. And so what does he do? He trains her differently than the way he's trained anybody else, and he wants to try and show her his point of view. And so, like, why isn't that his character? Why doesn't it make sense? Because he is a broken man at this point. I just saw that dog like
That's with his nose, just pow, right in my arm. I'm like,
but like someone's like, that's not Luke Skywalker. It's like people change in life through their experiences, and so you're telling me that he's got to be the same. He's got to be the same character as he was 40 years ago. He's not going to be. He's not going to be because in his heart, he failed not only Ben, he failed Leia, he failed Han, he failed everybody. He failed the Jedi. He failed Yoda. He failed Obi-Wan.
Well, and what I was going to say next was I'm really glad that you brought up Obi-Wan to start with, because Obi-Wan went into exile, at the end of Revenge of the Sith, Yoda tells him, well, I've learned how to communicate with people in the Force. I've learned to talk to Qui-Gon. So Obi-Wan goes into his isolation to get more in tune with the Force and watch over Luke. Obi-Wan changes because But Obi-Wan changes, and you said he takes the more standoffish approach, just staying back and watching. And in the Last Jedi, Luke talks a lot about the hubris of the Jedi and how just, I don't want to say fanatical because I think that's too strong of a word, but it is a religion. Luke says in The Last Jedi that it's a religion, and they're so set on light side, light side, light side. This is what we do, and this is how we have to do it.
That they're so blind.
Absolutely. What is it? How can you not say that Obi-Wan has learned in his time on Tatooine that, man, the Jedi kind of fucked up a little bit. We made a lot of mistakes. In his isolation, he's sitting there and he's thinking about this shit constantly. So how can you complain about Luke's character development into an old man when Obi-Wan did the exact same thing? It's exact same thing.
To me, it's perfect.
And so did Yoda.
Absolutely.
I mean, Yoda goes to fucking Dagobah into exile.
Well, here's my point to add is that I don't know which episode it is. I don't know if it's 2 or 3, but Yoda states, it might be the Clone Wars also, I'm not sure, that they have become blind. That they're too, we are the driving force here, that we are blind to what's actually happening, and it's going to be our downfall.
It might actually be in 3 because because even in 3 he's still not.
Yeah.
He's still it might be right when everything starts to fall apart.
What is it? Our arrogance will I can't remember the exact, but he states that he has the feeling that something's going to happen, but he feels that we're too arrogant to see what's actually going on in our backyard, essentially. And to me, with Luke, with the whole Luke moving to the old man, it's look at what Luke's been through. I mean, his father was Darth Vader, the Dark Lord, the strongest, supposedly, born of the Force, and then he had the problem with Kylo. He promised Leia and Han, I will take care of him. I will do everything I can. He fails them, as you say, and then when he fails there, he fails Yoda, Obi-Wan. In his mind, he's failed everyone. He is a failure, so he cuts himself off from the Force, and they show it where he does not use it at all.
My favorite part about that is that, when Obi-Wan goes into isolation, when Yoda does, they don't cut themselves off from the Force.
Nope.
No.
They're probably in communication with Qui-Gon and learning more. And that's the opposite with Luke. He's so ashamed of that failure that he's like, it's done, it's over. I'm just gonna stay here and I'm come here to die. I'm not leaving.
Exactly.
I'm not leaving this place. I'm not leaving this damn island.
And it's perfect character development because all the way through Empire and Return of the Jedi, when he's finally introduced to Yoda and in Yoda's tutelage, Yoda talks to him about stop using your emotion. You can't use your emotion. It's the path to the dark side. And Luke continues to do it, and Yoda's smacking him on the hand. Stop doing that. Stop it. And that's Luke realizing that I can't do what I want to do. So he cuts himself off with the Force, but that in itself is an emotional decision.
Yeah.
He is so ashamed, and shame is emotion.
And then there we get the Yoda scene when he's still looking too far in the future. He hits him again.
Yeah,
he's
exactly.
Still here. We're still learning, aren't we? Yep. I loved that scene. And the thing is that in just a second, Blick.
Yeah.
Blick?
Blaine. Blick.
Dr. Blick.
Oh my God! Here is another one.
Oh fuck!
All right,
Dr. Blick is your evil twin.
Twan.
When he first see, because in this movie, and what people and they're complaining about this movie, but he has his own character arc as well.
He does.
Rey has, Kylo has, and then Luke has, and everyone else is kind of sprinkled in here and there. They got their own little development, they got their own little side plot, all this kind of stuff. But Luke has that development when he decides to reopen himself back up to it and feel it and feel out there.
Yeah.
And then he feels Leia basically hanging on to life at that point. And that's when he decides, all right, fine. You want to see it? I'll show you. But, we're going to do this my way.
Yep.
And then you're going to see my point of view. But the thing is that point of view is also a little skewed. It's still skewed because when Yoda comes to him, when Luke is like, I'm going to just burn the tree and destroy the text. And Yoda's like, are you? Okay. And then Luke's like,
Do it.
Yeah. No, and then Yoda goes ahead and zaps the tree. He's like, the text. And he's like, Like,
But
ransom you have.
Before Blaine goes into his, in that section, he says we have done a lot of wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we have not, if we go by this text, we cannot go any further. Essentially, is what he's saying. Like, we've done a lot of wrong here, just because we followed this text.
A good basis it is.
Yes.
But like, don't get so caught up in these books.
It's not doctrine.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Knowing, and I really feel like that Yoda knew all along that she has the books.
Yeah.
Of course, Yoda knew. Blaine, what were you going to say?
Okay, so a lot of the things that you guys have said since I've raised my hand a little bit ago.
Sorry.
No, it's completely fine because you're just adding to what I want to say. Okay, so Tyler brought up that the Jedi are basically a religion. Same with the Sith. And it gets brought up in Episode 3 when Palpatine is talking to Anakin that each side is just a point of view of the Force. And, and then you bring up the fact that Yoda's like, hey, you can't use emotion when using the Force. Oh, wow. Thanks for that, Tyler.
I'm sorry. I had to.
Oh,
and then
wow. Thanks for that,
around.
Brandon. Memes galore. Yeah. But the Sith, they use their emotion.
It's pure emotion.
It's pure emotion. It's raw emotion. And they use that to their advantage. They use that to amplify their Force powers. While the Jedi use their peace of mind and their focus. Their serenity to amplify their Force powers. But then you have these people that walk both paths that can draw upon both sides, and they know that like Mike said, to be a true master of the Force, you have to walk both paths. You have to use your emotion. You have to have peace of mind, and it's a beautiful chaos.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's basically like a great Jedi. It's like not being absolute into one or the other, but knowing that fine balance. And that's something that I watched this video about the new canonized way that the people get their lightsaber colors. Mm-hmm. And apparently, like, in what we've always known as that they get to choose their own color. Mm-hmm. Well, apparently that's not true anymore.
Let's hear this.
Yeah, I haven't seen that.
I want to hear this.
Apparently, when everybody gets a lightsaber, its most basic form is the blue.
The kyber crystal.
Yeah. So then, like,
I think it's green, isn't it? Green?
Well, it changes based upon where you're at, and it communicates with the Force with your own like mentality. It's like, are you more of a Force user or more of a talker? Well, that's green.
Yeah, the consular.
Or if you're a say what again, motherfucker, you get purple.
Well, see, that's the thing is that
I'm sorry, he is the most powerful gray Jedi that's ever been because he walks the line.
You goddamn right.
Well, see, and that's why you get the purple, and that's why that's so rare. Is that you actually have somebody who pulls from the dark side to pull that back against the dark.
You know who had a purple lightsaber?
Who?
Revan.
Yes.
Yes.
Great reference.
And we'll see. But that was part of his journey, though. He didn't start with it either, because it was.
I think he did, but he eventually moved. He became a Sith Lord.
I thought he was green, and then gold, and then purple.
Well, no, because he had red when he was Darth.
Well,
Revan.
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Obviously, once you go.
Did he have a name before Revan?
Once you go
No,
dark,
he
you go red.
was always Revan.
So he just became Darth Revan.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna keep my name.
Which there was, I think
Malik. He just I'm gonna change my C.
There was one Sith Lord before Revan that took the mantle of Darth, and that was Darth Andidu, one of the ancient Sith Lords from Korriban.
Yeah.
So another thing to add to that, how do you like the fact that they put the small little portal to the Sith on the island, on the first Jedi temple? They have this little portal, and all it is a beach with, like, I guess glass, whatever you want to call it.
The black hole.
You go through the hole, and it's got the onyx, and you just stare into it, and it's
the Goth Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much. But I mean, what does it show her? Essentially, what does it show her? Excluding the end part of that,
you can't have one without the other.
It only shows her.
True.
All it is infinite amounts of her, and she is the one that finds the path that she's supposed to go. Mm-hmm. That shows themselves as you are you. You are the most powerful, or whatever, however you want to interpret it. But it just
you have the answer. Not
you have the answer. We don't. The Force. Nobody else in the galaxy has the answer, but you. You have to look inside yourself. But like everybody said here, the dark side is all emotion, raw emotion. But then the Jedi are no emotion. You lock it out. But how can you be what you are without any emotion?
Well, and that's
then you're just a mindless tool.
Well,
and
that's the downside
following.
of the Jedi mindset. I mean, it really is, because it can lead so many people to fall.
Right.
Some people are really good at it. Like they're very monkish.
It's discipline.
Like the Jedi. Yes.
The big thing is like
discipline.
to not let your emotions overcloud your judgment.
Yes.
That is the gray path. Is you use your emotion to increase your power, but you know where the line is drawn.
Yes.
Okay, I'm not going to go and kill Brandon just because he pissed me off, like the Sith do, but I'm going to be like, fuck you. I'm pissed at you. I'll get you back. But it's kind of the way that they play it, and I can't remember exactly what I want to.
Back to kind of what I was saying for the original point, though, is that all right? So, like the critics, that's like 1 of 3 for this podcast at this point, huh?
This will be the first of 3.
Yeah. Mike is very notorious for having to take pee breaks, even on Game Addicts, where we run a much shorter runtime.
And you video record.
Yes,
which makes it more difficult. He's like, I'm
I have
fucking
to
going.
sit there by myself.
Bye.
Well, I guess I'll take over the show here, Mike.
I do want to point out, that a lot of people are saying, like, oh, Kylo Ren and Snoke aren't traditional Sith. They're not Sith.
They're not.
Everybody quit thinking that Snoke and Kylo Ren, Ben Skywalker, are Sith lords or part of the Sith in any sort of way. There are other factions of the dark side. Have you ever heard of the Night Sisters that are brought up in the Clone Wars, I might add? Thank you, Mike, from the
bathroom. Holy shit!
I'm glad that you said that, because we've talked a little bit about how naive kind of the Jedi have been during their reign and how it ultimately led to their downfall. Through that arrogance and whatnot. The Jedi used something that a Sith Lord came up with: the rule of 2. A Jedi Master can only have 1 student at any given time. So that
they came up with that, not even knowing that the Sith Lords came up with it.
Right,
though.
but that just goes to show how, this hits home what we keep talking about, the using the both sides of the Force. Obviously, having 1 student doesn't really have anything to do anything with that, but the Sith and the Jedi are no different.
Something that, to add to what you said, something that video pointed out, and what is said at the very beginning of Revenge of the Sith, and it's when Anakin duels Dooku and defeats Dooku.
Yeah.
And Chancellor Palpatine is there, and it's the first time he kind of lets his true persona slip through.
Yes.
He's like, kill him.
Do it.
And he's like, I shouldn't. And then he's like, do it. And he Anakin finally kills him, and Anakin feels remorse. He's like, shouldn't have done that. That's not the Jedi way. And what is Sidious say? He was too dangerous to be left alive. Flash forward a little bit.
Great sound effect.
Okay. Yes.
Flash forward, and Anakin, he has that inner turmoil. He's wanting to try. He's like, man, Sidious offered me help. Anakin's always afraid of losing his mother. He lost his mother.
Right.
He's not going to lose his wife. God damn it. So then Sidious is like, I can help you. He reveals himself to Anakin. Anakin is torn. He turns him in. Mace is like, we'll take care of it. If what you said is true, you have my trust. Unavowed trust. And then Anakin's kind of torn. He goes like, all right, no. Okay, maybe if I can stop him, maybe he won't kill him, and maybe I can still save Padme. Runs in there.
And here we are, full circle.
And then there's Mace Windu holding him. He's like, no, don't kill him. And what does Mace say?
He's too dangerous to be left alive.
Absolutely.
And that is his downfall, because what happens? There's no difference between the Sith and the Jedi except for a point of view.
Right.
And what's going to help him more at this moment? The Sith. What's going to help him get what he wants to save Padme? The Sith. So he chooses to kill, or at least stop, Mace Windu. That completes his circle, and he falls to his knees, and he even has remorse. What have I done? Because now this is the point of no return. He can't go back to the Jedi and go, sorry guys, no. I fucked up and I killed Mace Windu.
Well, of course he can't go back. He killed them all.
Well, at some point
he does go back.
But then, then by the end of the movie, he's so the dark side has consumed him so that he's so power hungry at this point. Saving Padme's not enough.
No, he wants to rule with her.
Yes. he's so clouded. And the same thing with Ben, because that circles back around for Last Jedi when he kills Snoke and he falls, and she's like, "Awesome, he's on my side now."
To me,
Great.
yes. To me, I thought up until Snoke was dead, up until after that battle with all the Praetorian guards.
Still the greatest scene. In the
Oh,
last
it was.
Oh yeah, great.
Yes.
They go back to back, and I got
Up
wrecked.
until the very end of that battle, once all the Praetorian guards are dead, he sees Snoke dead, and that's when I think up until that point he was light side. He had rejoined the light, but he sees Snoke dead, and that's when the darkness took complete hold.
Now now it's the grip. It's like, who's in charge?
And he is Anakin
Me.
at that point.
I've overthrown. And then she goes, "Come on, there's still time. Call the attack." And he's just like sitting there, all this emotion kind of going through his head. And she goes, "No, don't, please." He goes, and then now he turns to her and is like, does the same thing Anakin does to Padme.
Yes.
You and me.
He does the
Screw
same
the
thing
Jedi,
Anakin does to Padme.
Screw the Sith. We start anew right now. You and me. Force, whatever. Call us whatever you want. Kill it. It's that line. Kill it.
He does the same thing to Padme, or he does the same thing that Anakin did to Padme, and Vader did to Luke.
Yes.
Yes, very much so.
Reach your hand out. Join me. We can stop him. We can rule.
I'm not going to lie about reach my hand out and grab
You
yours.
almost did. You almost did.
I was like, I want to.
We're all in. We're all in.
If it were Tyler, I would have been
in.
like, yes,
But like,
let's do this.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah,
do
no,
this.
I just don't understand. I'm not trying to end this discussion because it's a great discussion.
It is.
But we are 30 minutes in.
We are 30 minutes into this one topic.
I want to add one more thing before you end.
I do too. Before we close out of this topic,
I'm just looking at the fan reception. People are like, "Oh my God, Justice League is such a bad movie." When you look at it's not perfect, but it's a pretty enjoyable flick.
It is. It was.
And then you look at this movie, and all the critics are like, "Yay!" and half the fan base are like, "Worst movie ever. The plot hole's a blunder," and it just. You right?
Yeah, I had to sneeze. I'm so sorry.
I didn't know if you just started laughing like uncontrollably when I said plot hole's a blunder.
I loved your verbiage there.
Yes.
I really have to say that.
I'm just like, I've seen the movie twice. Has anybody else seen it twice?
I'll be
I've
going
seen
to
it
see it my
twice.
second time tomorrow.
I saw it twice because
and I'll be using
four of
my
us
movie
actually-
pass.
Yeah, it came in.
4 of us actually went
Excellent.
to see it together, and then we did the episode for 170. And then I took Caitlin over the weekend, and she loved it.
Awesome.
And it was better for me. Even the stuff that I criticized during 170 was a little bit better for me because I knew kind of what was happening.
The
I knew what was-
anticipation builds when I was watching it with you guys. That's exactly what I was trying to tell you. Like, watching it with you three, seeing it for the first time, hyped me even more because I was like, oh my God, we're at the Red Room and they have no idea what the fuck is coming and it's glorious.
Well-
and oh my God, we're at the hyperspace moment and they're about to go light speed through these ships and I have nothing to say but oh my God. And Blaine's over here like,
Acting out to the-
I am acting shit out with my hands, yeah.
That's kind of like what Rob did whenever I watched
Force Awakens
because right when they got to Falcon, I was literally yelling, "If you fucking wreck my ship, I will kill you."
Something I didn't notice the first time around. They lost the radar dish again.
Yeah, I
Yes,
said that to
yes.
you last week.
When Chewie's flying through the caves, I saw it. I'm like, I didn't see that the first time, so I waited for it to come back around. No dish. So maybe we're gonna get a different.
I'm really anxious to see it tomorrow. I'm going with my dad.
Cool.
And,
Awesome.
He was one of the people that I always enjoyed watching Star Wars with as a kid, and so I took him to see Force Awakens. He's like, "Yeah, it's not the same." He didn't. He's like, it wasn't bad, but it's not the same. It's not the old movies. And I'm like, oh, Dad, of all the movies, I figured this was going to be the one you like because it was the most it had all the practical effects.
It's the
it had the
closest to
magic.
old movies, yeah.
It had the magic.
It did.
And so I'm really anxious to go see it with him tomorrow.
This movie, see, the same people who were like, "Oh, that movie was just too much like the other one." This movie took so many chances.
It did.
Because it didn't tell just a chapter 2. It was like chapter 2 and 3 together.
Yeah.
And killing Snoke, it's like, we don't know anything about Snoke. It's terrible. We didn't know anything about Palpatine.
We literally
He didn't
didn't know
show up
anything
really
about him.
until episode 6. And what did he do?
And what did you? And
He
actually,
sat.
what do you know about him? The only thing you know about him is Clone Wars. If you haven't watched the Clone Wars, he's just that guy.
Or just watching the behind the scenes stuff and the prequels. That's where
Yeah.
you get your story from him.
Yep.
You know, so it's like,
All you know about him in Return of the Jedi is that he is just one evil fuck.
yeah.
Yep.
And Snoke kind of comes off like that. He's this powerful, evil fuck. And then
Again, I love the verbiage.
Still can't use lightning though.
Yes.
Who can't use lightning?
Snoke used lightning.
Yeah,
He used it, but not like
He literally flicked his. He snapped his finger
only a little
and
bit.
annihilated Kylo.
Yeah,
but it wasn't.
He did more with less than what I feel like.
I don't think it was the same.
I feel like he could have potentially been more powerful than Palpatine.
Oh, I don't know about
And
that.
that just adds to the
mythos.
The and the excitement for episode
I feel
9.
Like with Palpatine, he was holding back because it was Vader. Like if he went full bore, Vader never would have even got 2 or 3 steps. But I feel like he was holding back because if Luke doesn't join, he still has to have Vader.
See, I feel by that point the Emperor's like strength. Not to say he wasn't strong. He's older.
How old was he there?
He's old as shit. He was old as shit in episode 3.
I say he was like 90 in episode 3 or something.
Read the Darth Plagueis book.
Yeah,
because
that's all I have to say.
Now, like
any of you.
it's like seeing the hate for the movie. Like some people's like, yeah, the movie still sucked, buddy. Movie did not suck.
No,
not by any means. Watching that the second time, this is a fucking Star Wars movie.
Yes,
Absolutely. It's a different feel, but it's a good different feel.
So to add before we go, going on back here. Now, what I don't understand, and this is one of my just picking apart the Star Wars mythos, is that Anakin chooses to go with Palpatine to save Padme. But that one choice cannot determine that much anger. Literally at that point, he's like, okay, I want to save Padme, but then all of a sudden he goes and destroys the entire Jedi Order.
Well,
for what?
Because Palpatine tells him.
Palpatine
tells him to, but he goes in and he's lust with anger and rage.
Well, I
he
think
feels
it's
betrayed
because
by the Jedi Order, but
Absolutely.
also Palpatine says you have to do more dark side shit to get powerful enough to do what I need to show you to save Padme.
Not to
it's
mention,
not necessarily overly stated like that, but he does say that.
Not to mention, over the course of the Clone Wars, like Anakin's trust in the Jedi just wavers so much.
I feel like that the Clone Wars, and this is me personally, explain all the shit you want to know.
All right.
Because the crystals. They never mention anything about the crystals, how they get their crystals, what has to happen, nothing. In the Clone Wars, it's like 5 episodes of, this is what you have to do.
It is.
You have to do this. The crystal chooses the Jedi. Like, it's not, it goes off of your weak point and your strong point.
And then a Sith gets the red by
stealing
a Jedi's crystal and then doing the dark side stuff to it that makes it bleed.
Well, they eventually came up with a way to synthesize the crystals themselves.
Yes.
They're synthetic crystals.
I liked what you told me about Kylo's lightsaber because I didn't know that. The reason why it has the 2 little
cross guard,
like the cross guard, is because the crystal's so
unstable
that it needs those are vent
Which
ports
you can look at at the actual blade itself, and it's very unstable.
It's always
Jagged.
I've always loved that.
But it
I've
actually
always
matches
loved
his
that.
character too.
It does.
Absolutely.
It really
He's such
does.
an unstable person, and that's something that I feel like Adam Driver nailed it in this movie.
Oh yes.
Gosh, it gave me such a nerd boner. Like they like the forced FaceTime, as Torres called it.
Yes.
Between Rey and him, and then like the pull to the light, the pull to the dark, the seesaw thing going on.
Yeah, you can definitely tell it's there.
And then of course like his reaction when he sees the Falcon in the air, shoot that piece of junk out of the sky right now. That's the last piece of his dad.
Yeah.
He wants rid of it because it's still pulling at him, just like Luke says.
Well, not just the Falcon, also Chewie.
Well, Chewie, there's that.
Well, and I love the fact that they say they really hate that ship.
They hate that ship.
They hate that. Like, literally all the forces stop their attack and go after them.
All right, I'm going to interject here. We're at 45 minutes.
That's Star Wars for you.
How poignant, though, is
yes.
it that, like, when everything is down and out and there's nothing left, the symbol of hope, the symbol of that ship, everybody's on that, and that's all that's left.
Right.
Yep.
Absolutely. Well, I want to know. I love that topic, Brando, by the way. And I would just actually
say almost anything.
Well, I was just interjecting my points listening to you guys. I definitely feel that the nerddom kind of betrayed Star Wars a little bit. It was like people who didn't get their way were upset, so they created. There's a lot of controversy over
People are
whether or not
selfish.
these reviews are fake or not. There's some different alt-right groups that have claimed that they hacked and made the results worse and whatnot.
Well, that was my topic, because there are people right now that
So
have
we just bleed right into the next topic here.
No, not my main topic. This is what I raised my hand for. There are people right now that are joining together in groups on Rotten Tomatoes to downvote Star Wars.
It's foolish. It's like, listen,
why would you do that?
Well, in 5 years after we've seen Episode 9, everyone's going to be like, that was the greatest fucking movie
absolutely
ever made, and here's why.
Upset because there are people who are saying that Rey's just powerful because she's a woman.
No.
It has nothing to do with that.
No, it really doesn't.
They don't even mention, like, that.
Or like, so like our three main protagonists are a woman, a black dude, and a Hispanic.
So fucking what?
Hispanic?
Who cares?
Where's
Poe
Dameron.
Yeah.
He's not Hispanic.
Oscar Isaac is actually Dominican.
What?
Yes.
What? I had no idea.
I'm sorry, but he needs to get the Falcon. Discussion over the best pilot in the freaking galaxy needs to have the best ship in the galaxy.
That dude is a fantastic musician, actually.
Yes,
Oscar
Isaac. First time I ever saw him was in a movie called 10 Years.
Yeah.
And he played a song called Never Had, and I absolutely love that song.
Yes, absolutely. We actually used one of his songs for Foodies to talk about Star Wars. But anyways, go ahead.
To that point, it's like there are people in political groups who are just like shitting on this movie because, it's so liberal now.
Right.
It's like, it's catering to a certain audience, the feminist, the Black Lives Matter movement, and it's like
They don't get the point.
You are looking for this.
Yeah, because they don't get the
really
point.
are.
The point is the normalization that anybody could fill those roles. It doesn't fucking matter what their skin color is. It could be a fucking blue alien like Nebula,
Not Gamora.
or green like Gamora.
Well, it caters to youth and hope and open-mindedness.
Exactly.
And my dad saw the original Star Wars in 1977 on opening night in a small theater in Lakeside, California.
Okay. So the last part of that
Jelly.
my dad didn't do, but most of what you just said is exactly as my father.
So
he was not in California.
You're taking something that has been a part of us all. It goes on. It goes well along. It goes well along with the theme of the movies.
I was fucking born into Star Wars.
I'm a Jedi, like my father before me. My dad saw this fucking movie, dude, on opening night, and you're gonna shit on it because I saw it on opening night and it's not as good as you thought it could be. Fuck you.
Absolutely.
So, people who are claiming that Rey's just strong because she's a woman. It's such a woman empowering movie. Look at Leia.
Absolutely.
Originally, it was like, she's a damsel in distress. And yet, who takes charge?
She's a motherfucking princess.
She owns that shit. After Empire, she is the fucking leader of everything.
But even in Empire and Hoth, she's taking charge.
Absolutely.
Right
Tyler,
out the gate.
Do you want to do it with me?
Oh, I love it.
I'm just saying, I really think that the fans are being really unfair to this movie. Watch it again, guys.
Yeah. Unnecessarily fair.
Look at this and look at what Star Wars has been.
Look how much discussion it brought up.
Look at the original prequels. Look at Force Awakens. Look at the prequels, even. And look at the formula that has still brought forward and is still the Star Wars formula. Because what I feel, and you said this the other day, that Disney is bracing themselves for the Han Solo movie to fail.
Absolutely.
Correct. They are expecting it because of what happened with Last Jedi.
And here we are. We have such... And granted, the people who are hating on this movie, they're diehard fans of Star Wars.
No one hates Star Wars No one hates Star Wars like Star Wars fans.
Exactly.
Or Star Trek fans.
Also true.
I actually saw a
we
picture where they
don't care
took
about them.
old man Luke and put him on like a red shirt. It's
God.
You'll never take the sky away from me.
Damn it.
But I just I kind of feel like they're looking at this going, oh my God, they're going to tear this movie apart. When, they imagine being the executives at Disney seeing this movie going, oh my God, this is amazing. And then the feedback they get is because the drop off from week 1 to week 2 was worse than Justice League.
Yeah.
For money coming in. That is crazy.
Especially with the holiday.
Yes.
Yeah.
That is absolutely crazy. And I just felt like The Last Jedi is getting kind of shat on, especially when most people, not everybody, came out of Force Awakens going, wow, Star Wars is back after 10 years. It's almost what I remember. It's on a great track. And here's this next movie, this guy coming in saying, I'm going to do some stuff, and we're going to take some risks and make a really cool movie out of this. and we're going to sit back and we're going to make sure this makes sense, and this comes in, and this here, and it's still Star Wars. It's going to be great. Everyone's going to love it. And then it is so divided.
Yeah.
I was
Cynics,
actually
man.
wondering, and it's crazy because almost everybody, a part of our network that have seen it, they've loved it. So there's the first topic.
All right, so we are
45 minutes.
officially 50 minutes in through the first topic. Mr. Tyler, what did you bring to the table today for the Nerds of the Round Table?
With our overlords Disney and their ultimate takeover of the Earth beginning here not long ago, what does everyone in this room think about two acquisitions they have, Aliens and Predator?
I am excited. To be honest, yes, Disney is kind of sucking everything up, but
For good reason. They want to do it right.
A great job. I mean, it's just you look at original Disney stories, just the original, like the kids' stories. They're some of the best stories that's out there. Like in some of the movies, they're good. They're really good.
A lot of their movies are really good shit.
How many new movies that are coming out that don't go off something else, that's just an original idea, that are so highly acclaimed? I can only name stuff from Disney. So I'm happy with anything they acquire because they do it right.
It's weird, though. I wonder, there was just a really successful Alien movie. Alien Covenant was really successful. I didn't see it yet, but I've heard great things. Like, it was a fucking awesome movie,
I
great
enjoyed
effects.
it.
Okay, so you enjoyed it. It is successful. Does this Aliens movie need a reboot through Disney, or do they just keep doing the thing?
Well, the reason I brought this up, and I'm going to split this into two, Aliens and Predator. For Alien, Ridley Scott is involved in the franchise again.
Mm-hmm.
How does Disney interact with Ridley and his baby? Because this is Ridley Scott's creature.
Correct.
No pun intended.
A lot of times what Disney will do when they acquire something, they're not going to come in and they're not going to butt in and tell you what to do. They're going to look at who's in charge, who's leading this project, It's like, look at Lucasfilm. Who's in charge of Lucasfilm? Kathleen Kennedy.
Right.
So she is the be-all, end-all for Star Wars, anything that they own, any projects that are going on from Lucasfilm. And Disney's over here going, okay, what are you doing? Show us. All right, good, go ahead.
Thumbs up or thumbs down.
And they're going to interject when they need to, and so far they haven't.
Okay.
And so
other than the Han Solo.
Look at the Han Solo thing with the directors. That did, yes, they did.
You know why that failed? Because they were trying to do a Thor Ragnarok thing, try to make it mostly improv, and Disney was like, that's not serving our character. That's not serving Han Solo, making it just an improv comedy-based movie.
No,
so,
it's not.
And a lot of that was filmed when Ron Howard has it, so he's literally working with, like, hands full of dog shit, essentially, because it's a mess. He was handed a mess before he even got his hands on it.
When you're looking at something like Aliens, and Ridley Scott is involved, and he did Prometheus, and then he did Alien Covenant. Now he's supposedly working on another one.
Correct.
And definitely wants to expand more into the AI with the David character. I think what they're going to say, he's going to come to the table, and he's probably going to have to pitch him, is what it's going to be. If they end up owning the Alien franchise, they're going to see what, I mean, come on, it's Ridley fucking Scott.
Right.
Disney's not stupid. They know what they have.
Right.
He's the grandfather of Alien. And so they're going to look at him and go like, all right, so man, so what's your idea? And then he's going to be like, I want to do this and this and this and this and that. And they're probably going to be like, all right, man, look at this. This is what the kind of budget we're looking at. And go do it.
Infinite.
And
Disney
yes.
infinite budget.
But like they're going to say, all right, go do it and make your movie. And then they're just going to kind of be off the sideline, and they're going to see how it's progressing and how it's going. Because this is Ridley Scott. And you're not going to get involved unless he's spending way too much money, taking too much time.
Yeah.
What's this? What's that? Problems. They're not going to get involved. And then if it's a massive and utter flop and doesn't make them any money, then they're going to be like, all right, well, maybe we shouldn't be. Maybe if we're going to own this, maybe we'll give it a little bit of break, put it on ice, and we put someone else in charge who we trust with their vision.
Would you kick Ridley Scott out of his franchise?
No, but if he failed, yeah.
You think Disney would?
Yeah.
They have the
They don't
money
give a
to.
shit.
Really?
Like, for example...
But we just talked about fan backlash.
You are
fans
correct.
were just ecstatic that Ridley was back involved in the franchise again. Would you want to take that risk? even if the movie didn't do so
That's
hot.
why you put it on ice and make people forget.
True.
Do some other stuff for a while.
When was the
Sprinkle some dust
last?
over here.
When was the last good Predator movie?
Uh,
Been a
Predator
minute.
movie or Predator movie?
Good. Predator
I
movie.
enjoyed Predators.
Yes, I
What
also
is
really
that?
enjoyed
Was
that.
That's
That
the one
was-
where they went on a planet.
That was Robert Rodriguez.
Yes.
Didn't see it.
Oh,
That
was the
fantastic.
Did that have Lawrence Fishburne in it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And was
Which, for the record, Lawrence Fishburne did. Technically, that was the Bryan Cranston. He got Bryan Cranston before Bryan Cranston became a thing with Godzilla.
Right.
Everybody, he was a big part of the trailer. They blew him up in the trailer, and spoiler alert, he's just some crazy loon that's been on this predator planet hunting grounds for
like 20
years.
years.
He's the only sole survivor.
Yeah, and he's just a
technically.
loon, and he ends up just trying to fucking kill everybody.
Is that the one with Topher Grace too?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That was,
yes,
that
yes,
was
yes,
fucking
yes.
weird.
It's a good movie.
It was another case of, oh look, I'm Topher Grace, and I'm trying to further myself from Eric Foreman, but I'm still Eric Foreman.
Still say
He keeps doing that.
Predators
true.
2 is still.
The one with
Predator.
Danny Glover.
Predator 2?
Yes.
That one's pretty cool. I mean, the first two
Predator
for me are it. AVP is just a
It's
right
there.
long action movie.
It's there.
It's crap. It's
AVP
utter and
2
total
It doesn't
shit.
even follow anything
It's
that's going.
AVP 2
There.
is worse than crap.
Absolutely.
Yes.
It's like it's literal like that is worse than any sort of dog shit. that Ron
They
Howard
what they
did.
tried to do.
I don't know why I own that on Blu-ray. By the way,
You own that movie on
AVP
Blu-ray?
2.
Both
Probably
of
because
them.
it was like $3.
I have both.
What?
I have both.
Hand
Both.
slap.
Slap it away. No, AVP 2. They tried to go back to the horror side of Aliens and Alien vs Predator.
So, I don't want to derail this, but I want to stay on Alien for a second. The reason I brought that up with Ridley Scott, and I know Ridley Scott's kind of a diva. He's
Okay.
he's a little bit of a diva. So I don't know what Disney's track record is with handling divas as far as directors go. I mean, but so 2 years ago there was a release or a preview release kind of thing for Neil Blomkamp and what he was going to do with a Alien sequel that was taking place immediately after Aliens, the second film in the franchise, removing the third and fourth films from canon, so that Alien 3 and Alien Resurrection, neither one of those were very good movies.
No.
Bringing Sigourney Weaver back, the guy that played Bishop, and what was the Marine Corporal Hicks.
Poor Hicks. Yeah.
So bringing those, what's his name from the original Terminator movie? I can't remember his name.
James Cameron.
No.
James Cameron, the director?
No. The
Arnold Schwarzenegger.
no,
No.
The, yes,
obvious
Michael
one.
Biehn.
Yeah,
Okay.
all these aliens.
All these aliens up here.
But-
Grab my hand!
so-
it's slimy!
All these aliens in these motherfucking plane.
Wow. What were you?
I'm
All right,
so sick of these goddamn
Nate,
aliens.
thanks for having me on the podcast. I'm going to leave now. Blaine just ruined it. But
These aliens on this goddamn plane.
so this sequel would bring back a lot of the original cast from Aliens 2, pick up right after that movie left off, and then kind of be the either final farewell to Sigourney Weaver and her Ripley character to finally flesh out that story. Because going from Aliens 2 to Alien 3, we crashed on an alien or a prison planet and everybody dies except Ripley. That is a cop out. That was terrible writing, and that was a shit fucking movie.
Yes.
So, Aliens 2, for what Alien did for, science fiction and the horror industry, Alien is a masterpiece. Aliens 2 is pure entertainment.
Yes.
Well, and there's Cameron.
Absolutely.
James Cameron directed that movie.
So Blomkamp was hired to direct this movie. They started filming, and then with Ridley Scott and Alien Covenant, they kind of ran out of money. And then they're like, well, Neil, sorry, we got to scrap your movie.
Sorry about you, pal.
We'll keep everything that you've done, and we'll kind of keep you, on our payroll, but we don't really have anything for you right now, so go do your own stuff. And Neil Blomkamp's done some fantastic stuff. District 9. I haven't seen Chappie, but he does a lot of indie stuff that's
seen
really,
Chappie.
really good.
I haven't seen Chappie either.
It's okay.
But you got to look at
Yeah.
he doesn't have the budget that a lot of
Right.
other directors do. He's doing this all on his own. So, do you think that Disney's going to give us that sequel?
That'd be nice. That'd be kind of cool because the same kind of thing is happening with Halloween right now.
Absolutely.
Yes.
They're doing a sequel to, is it Halloween 1 or Halloween 2?
I believe it's the first one.
Okay, because they're bringing back
Jamie Lee Curtis.
Jamie Lee Curtis, and it is going to be like, what if all the other films never happened?
Mm-hmm.
Please.
And just like
Absolutely, please.
And so like this is a Halloween movie that's like so you got to like separate it. It's almost like two different timelines. It's like, well, okay, these movies can happen if you want them to.
God damn it, Barry Allen.
But then go over here and do this one, and then this is the final. This is
Flashpoint.
the true sequel. So I mean, that would be neat. But I would like it just depends because it all depends on what they decide to do. Because how far along is a Ridley Scott third movie in his new trilogy or his new series? How far along is that? And then from there, it's like you got to think anything and everything. Bye, Nate. Anything and
He's
everything.
taking my second turn.
Oh, okay. Anything and everything under the 20th Century Fox banner. It's like, how are they going to utilize that?
Right.
Are they going to like? Is it going to be like Lucasfilm, where it's like, okay, so this new thing that we've inherited, all these franchises, we own it, but then we're all just going to leave it to this company to decide what projects they're going to work on, and then we're just going to oversee it, or is Disney going to play a more active role? And it really just depends because we don't know how these IP are going to break down, or if they're just going to inherit these production companies and then newer Disney production companies from the 20th Century Fox banner come in. As far as Predator, I remember hearing a rumor that they were going to bring Schwarzenegger back for a new Predator film.
Yeah.
I have also heard that. Before we get talking on Schwarzenegger, so there is a Predator movie right now being filmed, slated for release August 3rd of 2018. And
I heard that was a direct sequel.
Well, it's
to the first.
it's actually a remake
Of the first?
of the first
It's
movie.
a remake of the first. Okay.
Everything that I've read and all the little kind of back screen information I have says that it's a remake. But it is slated for release August 3rd of 2018.
So
I feel like that's going to be hard for a lot of people.
Personally feel like, number one, a remake is okay for that film at this point because I'm okay with remakes, especially when you have like a franchise that's kind of like disenfranchised itself a little bit. When you remake a great movie just for the sake of remaking it, I'm not always on board with that. But for this movie, it's got to have two things. It's got to have a really cool action star to take the lead role because it's Schwarzenegger. You got to fill his boots. And number two, you got to have John Cena saying, "I ain't got time to bleed."
Yep.
Okay,
Yep.
You need another pro wrestler to say that. I'm just saying. And then modern day Carl Weathers. Is there one?
Not really.
All right. What's that? The kid's name?
Donald Glover?
Donald
I love
Glover.
Donald Glover.
Don Glover.
Don Glover, come in. Your role is here is to sit there and hold the arm of the dude. Like when the main character comes in and goes, "Dylan, you son of a bitch,"
Bam.
and they like have like massive freaking biceps. Like,
I don't think Donald
you're a
Glover
little
can
weak
do that.
in your own age, huh? So you lead this into a meat grinder?
So they're, from what I'm seeing of their cast, Olivia Munn, Boyd Holbrook, Lachlan Monroe, Thomas Jane,
Tom Jane?
Oh, boy.
Jake Busey, Keegan Michael Key,
Oh, cool.
Okay.
Edward James.
Almost.
Yes. Alfie Allen.
Really?
And then there's a couple small people that are normally thugs or henchmen in action movies. But I'll pass this around. There are set pictures. These released last.
Wait, go back one.
These released earlier this year.
That almost looks like Kit Harington.
That's a dude.
Yeah, Kit Harington is a
Right,
dude.
I know. I'm just saying.
I was so
He's a dude.
confused.
That's
I
a
was
that's
like,
a
wait
dude
minute.
that I don't know what his name. I
He's a
assume
dude.
it's
You're a
Augusto
dude.
Aguilera.
We're all dudes,
That
yeah.
might be,
But so that's not it. But there are set pictures that they released earlier this year. I think early fall.
So there's a little kid in it.
There is a little kid. I can say his name here in a moment. But there's a shot of one of the predators. So
Nice.
I'll pass it around. So from what I've heard and read is that the predators aren't just killing and maiming everybody. There's going to be some human predator team ups, kind of like there was in Predator AVP. a little bit in Predator 2 at the end when, they say, well, you were a badass, Mr. Glover, so you get to
this
leave.
Revolutionary war pistol.
Right.
Predators.
Yep.
There's a bit of
same thing, yeah.
There's the two different tribes, basically. I'll be number 4.
So I'll let
Mike.
you swipe through those and then hand it over to Nate. So with this pretty much being done, I mean, it's slated for release in August.
It's all in post-production now, for sure.
To see this whole Disney Fox deal probably won't even get done until next year. Probably a whole nother
Is
year.
that Donald Glover?
No.
Oh, man. He was going to say he looks fucking huge.
No, that's not.
He's built,
but,
bro.
If something kind of along the same lines of as Alien, since Disney hasn't fully acquired 20th Century Fox yet, if this releases in August and flops, are we going to see not get, go without Predator for another decade, Like good Predator.
That is Augusto Aguilera.
Because obviously AVP 1 and 2 were both garbage.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it all depends on how keen they are to get because obviously the whole point of them acquiring and spending so much for this for 20th Century Fox is to acquire the IP.
Oh, I know what this movie's different about. It says The Predator.
Mm-hmm. So the reason I wanted to talk about Predator as well as Alien, there is so much. I don't want to say expanded universe because as far as Alien and Predator goes, they've kind of kept it all canon. So, bye Blaine. But they've kept it all canon. So everything that happens in the AVP books and the comics and, there's merchandise and there's money to be made here. I just don't know if Disney's going to be willing to do it.
I guess it would just depend on how much they're into these IP that they're getting. It's obviously you got to think about what their number one goals are to reacquire their Marvel characters, reacquire A New Hope, probably acquire Avatar. I mean, these are your big money making deals. Like you're spending $50 billion. You're looking at what's going to make us this money back.
Right.
And as far as something like Alien and Predator, that's probably a much lesser IP to them, but their nostalgia and their legacy sales are going to be enough. They're putting out new collections, putting out new Blu-ray. They're going to get them kickback from that on later releases because there's always going to be that generation or that dude's like, I never actually bought any of the Alien movies. Let's go pick those up.
So, question. If this is shot in the jungle, where does the cape come into play?
I don't think it's entirely in the jungle. I think this
maybe it stems from the jungle.
Well, I think from what I've read, this takes place in this takes place in multiple places. It's not just one static set location.
Okay, so it's going to be like he kills a couple of them in the jungle.
The Lion
lets them
King?
get away, and he hunts them down to finish his...
Well, I don't know if you were in the bathroom when I said it or not, but there is, from what I've read, there's going to be some alien-human or predator-human team-up.
Right,
someone's got to call him an ugly motherfucker.
Oh, absolutely. You know it's going to be there.
You're one ugly motherfucker.
But, and from everything that I've read, there's going to be multiple predators. Not just one.
Huh.
So,
but the movie's called The Predator. What the
Predator.
fuck?
They typically come in 3.
Except for the first one.
Except for the first one, you're right.
But that was his blooding. I
guess
that's him basically
Predator
becoming a part of the Predator ranks, and then they run in groups of 3.
I guess in Predator 2, you didn't see the other ones until the very end.
Yeah.
Right.
But I still think the first 1 and 2 is they're essentially their blooding is them. They have to go through and hunt and do certain things, prove themselves to be a part of their Predator coven. I guess
their clan,
their tribe, and then they're set in groups of 3 that go out and hunt, which is in Predators, right?
Kind of. See, in Predators, there was 2 different groups, and one of them was I guess slightly less honorable or something. I don't know.
Well, they were kind of like super predators.
Yeah, that's what they were referred to as the super predator.
They were a larger, more strong, more powerful subspecies of the Yautja race. Yautja.
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 I always call them Yautja. Yeah, we're fucking nerds, bro.
Fucking hooked on phonics.
Shit. Well, is that going to wrap it for this next topic?
Aliens and Predator are a lot lackluster of a topic than Star Wars, but
I'm a huge Alien fan, so
same.
That being all the said, Blu-ray special editions downstairs.
Oh hell yeah! That being said, like I find it weird where Ridley Scott took the Alien Covenant. But I'm curious to see where he goes with it.
It's very Ridley Scott, which is why I liked it.
He said he wants more focus. He wants more focus on the AI, less on the alien in the new one. He said.
Which is cool.
Well, because I really like what he's done with the David character.
Well, and it's been a theme since the beginning. It's not something new.
Right.
I agree. So I'm
you've seen Prometheus, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you need to see
awesome.
Covenant.
I wish they would have just called it Covenant and not Alien Covenant.
The only thing I disliked about Prometheus is the fact that the end is like, here's your aliens. That's literally the story is really good. It goes in and you're thinking, all right, somehow this is going to tie in, and then it's just like, boom, there they are. Have a nice day.
All right.
Like, wait, what?
Kinda, yeah.
What? Explain more. Like, I get the black goose to annihilate all the human race because we were all just like a test, but just to be like, oh, here you go.
I loved how
the proto alien.
I loved how Covenant starts off as like its own thing, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, now it's a sequel to Prometheus.
Yeah,
because it just kind of like it goes over here, and it's like, oh,
the creature at the end of Prometheus the creature at the end of Prometheus is actually called the Deacon.
Yes, the Deacon. A lot of people are calling it the proto alien.
Protomorphs are in Covenant.
Yeah. Right on. Well, Mike, I think we're going to...
I'm going to bring up one of our classic topics here.
Sure.
But it's been on Journey into Comics multiple times. Do we think that we are getting oversaturated with superhero movies?
No.
I think that we are.
No way. I think we're... Because I think that the idea of a superhero movie now is so far removed from what it is. Yes, the characters wear superhero suits. But a lot of these movies, like Ant-Man and the Wasp, is going to be a rom-com, a romantic comedy that happens to have superheroes. And you've got, like, The Winter Soldier, industrial espionage. It also happens to have superheroes. And you've got, like, Guardians of the Galaxy, which is like the space opera type movie. But it also happens to be superheroes. Like, it's almost like I keep saying this, the Western of the modern era is the superhero. It's just a subgenre to bigger genres. So are we being oversaturated? No. And I think Marvel now having control of almost everything as far as that's concerned on their side, and Disney having control of that, allows that oversaturation to decrease substantially. Next year, there's like 7 or 8 superhero movies in total coming out. And like only 3 of them are Marvel officially, but the rest are Marvel subsidiaries.
Next year as 2019 or 2018?
This year.
Okay.
It's this year.
That's why I asked.
It's now. So you're still getting... I'm still
the
getting
future is now.
Thanks, John Cena.
So what is... So with this Disney's acquisition of everything, what are they still missing?
Well, technically they still don't have the rights to Namor, which is confusing, and within
Universal still has Namor and the Hulk, even though they have an agreement to use the Hulk.
Okay.
But they only technically have She-Hulk. She's the only one that's held back from the rights.
Okay. And then they have the agreement to use Spider-Man. Certain characters, but some of the Spider-Verse, it's like the Venom characters, stuff like that. Sony's like, no, you don't get that. We're going to do our thing with this. So it's like they own the Spider-Verse to do that, the rights to that in film, but they're like the partnership with Marvel only goes so far.
Okay.
So to elaborate more on my question,
sure, bring it up.
Is that I think that it is because you're seeing. Granted, I can't say much. I love Guardians of the Galaxy. I love Guardians of the Galaxy 2, especially the opening.
Oh yeah.
This to go off on a tangent here. I was disappointed with the rest of the movie because the opening was so awesome.
Wow.
I was like. I liked the movie, but I felt like it could have been a little bit more. But the opening was just fantastic. Anyways, I feel like it is becoming oversaturated because in theaters almost all the time is a superhero movie. Whether it is like you said, superheroes happen to be in it, and it's going off of a romantic comedy or like The Wasp, but they're everywhere. Like it's almost being force-fed to us. I love superheroes. I'm not going to ever argue about it, but I feel like there's too much out there, in my opinion. Like, yeah, I really like, after Infinity Wars, I feel like Marvel should slow down. Like, they shouldn't be pushing anymore. I think everything's leading up to Infinity Wars. Everybody's got their hands up here. Me. But I feel like it's good, but once Infinity Wars works, they have to step it back a little bit because it's every 3-4 months there's a new superhero movie coming out from Marvel or somebody.
Okay, so I agree with you because, at least to an extent, because I feel oversaturated with these movies. I can't go to the theater all the time. I can't.
Yeah, that's my thing.
We are living right now in a renaissance of these things, whereas like they are the only things right now in the box office that are really dry, like other than Star Wars, other than these really big implanted IP or franchises that are driving people to the theater, and that is good and bad because since it's doing so and it's doing so well, and now Warner Brothers are like push them out. So now we're getting a varying degree of quality. It's the same thing that happened in the video game industry. Video games are great. Push them out. Who cares if they're good?
Oh, yeah, here's Black Ops 18.
Well, let's just look at the gaming crash of the 80s.
Yes.
Look at Atari had no control over the quality. So you got really shitty games. It got to the point where people were like, man, I'm buying these games and they're not any good. So people stopped buying games. It wasn't until the NES came in and they said, all right, for example, let's just put this out. Warner Brothers, you can put out 2 movies this year. That's it. So, and then Nintendo would tell their publishers, you can put out 4 games this year. And that led to Konami creating Ultra, which is just a subsidiary, so they can now make 8. But you would split your team up then. It is oversaturated because we're getting a varying degree of quality. Thankfully, here lately, Marvel hasn't had an issue with quality.
Right.
Now for a good while.
And their last clunker was The Dark World.
Really.
I mean, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, and then you get, like, everyone's trying to put all their eggs in this basket because it's like, well, we have superhero characters that we own. Let's put them out. And then it ends up either not living up to the hype or being too rushed. And sometimes you still get a good movie out of it. But just imagine how much better the Justice League would have been if it were to have taken its time. And slowly built up and did it right. But they didn't want to do that. Because why? Because the money's now. Because why? I feel like they think, and they have the mindset of, well, if we wait 10 years, by that point, no one's going to care. And we're going to have moved on. Do I think we're ever going to be without? No. But I do feel like we are eventually going to hit the burst of the bubble. And I feel like Infinity War is going to be the apex. And it's going to look at what they do after that. Whether or not they do slow it down. Which might be a good thing because slow it down and tell your story slow again.
Yes.
You know? And then you have all these rights. And you can have the Fantastic Four. You can have your X-Men slide in. You have all these established characters who have been around for 10 years are suddenly going to be like, well, I'm tired of playing Captain America.
Just to interject there, and this is one of your favorite movies, Guardians of the Galaxy, #1. That was not really forced. It was over time. They're like, well, let's see where we can go with this. And as you stated in one of the earlier podcasts, this conglomerate here is that it is one of the best movies. And who are they? They're C-rank, D-rank heroes.
They're D-list heroes.
They're
they really
D-list
are.
heroes. And they did it right because they took their time and they built up a really good
Yes.
story. I feel like with this, and now we're going to get like a Black Panther movie, and then you're getting Infinity Wars, and then you've got 4 or 5 other movies coming out. Like, all these movies are being pushed out.
See, I think next year...
I'm not saying that Marvel will ever do anything bad, but I'm just saying that...
It's a lot to digest.
It's too much.
Well, Marvel's on a 3-a-year schedule.
Currently.
And I think that's going to stay. You got to think next year, though, there are 3 or 4 Marvel IPs that aren't Marvel Studios-based movies that are coming out. New Mutants. You've got the Venom movie.
Is that coming out next year?
Yes, Dark Phoenix comes out next year.
Does it really?
Yeah, so that's what makes it 6, which does give you the feel of oversaturation. You feel
and
like
then you have your WB-DC run, which gives you even more.
Right.
And then are we going to ever see any resurgence of this, like the Spawn character?
because Aquaman's next year. Yeah, forgot about that.
You know, and then your Image. So I don't know who is next.
I would say, like, yeah, I agree. It is oversaturated. And as much as I love it, I would like to be able to get excited about a regular movie.
a non-superhero movie.
A non-superhero movie. It's been a while.
You know what's
been
crazy?
A long time.
Let me tell you something. As a fan of movies, I can say this. there are great movies happening. You just have to find them. There are things that are being,
They get
released.
overshadowed.
They, it's not even that they get overshadowed. It's just that they are marketed differently. The movies that are going to get nominated for Oscars aren't marketed to be these massive multi-million-dollar making movies. They're literally marketed to win the fucking award and say fuck you to everybody else.
Darkest Hour.
Yeah, Darkest. I mean, there's like Trumbo is this amazing movie, or like. Trying to think of if you ever saw Kubo and the Two Strings. Like, that was an amazing Oscar-nominated movie.
I actually really enjoyed that.
It's amazing. It's phenomenal. It's on Netflix, I think.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. One of the biggest box office flops this year was the new Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And it was amazingly reviewed.
Yeah, absolutely amazingly reviewed. I was so upset when I couldn't go see that movie because I can't wait to see it when it finally gets released.
I think it's out now.
Is it out now?
I think it's out now.
It's definitely on Apple TV.
Okay, because I really want to see
I
that.
want to see it.
I want to see it really bad because I really enjoy the original Blade Runner. I don't think it's like the best movie ever made, but I enjoy it.
Oh, absolutely.
And everything I saw about that was like they were marketing it as if it were a big blockbuster thing, and I just don't think people really see it as that.
Well, it's been so long. I mean, while we're still just talking about Blade Runner, look at when the original Blade Runner was released. That generation, they might go see it now. They're not us. We are not that generation.
Right.
I saw Blade Runner because my dad was watching it on TV. Hey, this looks cool. I'll sit down and watch it. It's got Harrison Ford.
Right.
And then I fell in love with it, and then, like everything, you dig into lore and backstory and fan theories and all kinds of stuff. So I personally do not think that we're being oversaturated for a couple reasons. Excuse me. Number one, when I go to the movies, which I love to do, my number one goal and my number one deciding factor on whether I enjoy the movie or not is if I'm entertained. And that doesn't mean if I enjoy it from start to finish. That means if this movie opens up, I might enjoy 5 or 10 minutes of it. I might not like the next half hour. But if I'm consistently entertained throughout the movie, that's a thumbs up for me. A lot of people don't rate movies that way. Blaine, you've told me before that you used to like every movie.
Basically.
So, everybody's got their own way of looking at stuff, but as long as I'm going to the theater or I'm sitting on my couch in my living room with my family, as long as I'm entertained, I'm going to want more. I don't care what it is. It could be a Teletubbies movie. I'm going to call it Teletubs from now on. Because I forgot a syllable there. But as long as I'm entertained, that's all I care about, because that's the justification that I make for spending the money. And that's the thing, going back to Disney, especially with the Marvel stuff, they are marketing family entertainment so hard.
Yes.
It's something that I can go see with the 5 of us, or I can take my wife tomorrow and see and have just as good a time. The movie could suck. I'm going to have a good time. And that's why I don't think it's oversaturated.
Score. I love that.
That's a good way to look at it, really.
Because Brandon put it perfect. We're in a renaissance.
Yeah.
Would you rather not have superhero films that are entertaining and that they're putting the time in and that you can go with your wife and all of us and go see and have a good time and say, man, I'm glad I spent $10 on that? Or would you rather have, I don't know, a movie about bugs that sucks? I don't really know how to say it in a good way, but we're very privileged for what we have right now.
Where else in history right now would you ever imagine they would have made a Doctor Strange film, an Ant-Man film, a Guardians of the Galaxy
Absolutely.
film?
Right. And like I said, I don't mean to knock on the oversaturation of it. I'm just feeling like, for me, I did not enjoy the Justice League. Now, that might be because that's not the Barry Allen I want.
Fair enough. Watch The Flash on CW.
Yes, he is. It's hard to compare anyone else to him. And I'm not a Flash fan. I've said it on here. I really don't like the Flash, but him playing that character, unbelievable. But I feel like some of it's rushed, like Batman vs. Superman. That one could have been so much better if they would have let him do what he wanted to do. But they wanted to put it out because the money is now, as you stated. You getting the extended version of that, it is a better movie because a lot of the stuff is more explained and developed. Like the Lex Luthor character is more developed of why.
It still doesn't solve the main problem of the film of trying to be two films in one. Which
Right.
is the same problem Man of Steel had. So it's like that's the whole idea of like, well, let's make this movie and rush it out. It's the problem of making a superhero movie that feels different from the one that you've seen yesterday.
But does it have to?
Sometimes it does, because when you're looking at marketability, when you're looking at being different, it's the same thing that I mentioned off here earlier. The Marvel Hulk movie that they did with Edward Norton tells the entire intro, the background story, in the first minute with the credits. It tells you everything you need to know. Him doing the test, him getting all hulky, him beating up Liv Tyler and William Hurt, and then him running away and him going off into hiding, and then the next part of the story is them going to find him. So they had to they wanted to find a creative way to tell this story without just retelling and rehashing an origin story, because that's difficult to do, because not everybody knows the origins.
Or wants to see them.
Or wants to see them.
Like me. I hate origin stories.
Almost everybody understands that Batman's parents were killed.
Right.
But you still have to either reference it or show it. Because you're always going to get this person over here, never heard of Batman, never cared, never gave a shit about Batman. And it's seeing this
Shame on them.
And seeing this character for the first time, and they've got to be told, why is he Batman? And so in BVS, they found a way to do it. They did the whole kind of beginning scene of they kind of retread his parents getting killed in a funeral and understanding that his character comes from a dark place. But they kind of had to do that.
Right.
When you're framing together a movie, it's like, all right, where do we need to hit? Because could you make a movie where Batman is just there? Sure. But is it going to hit all the notches that you need to hit for make these characters understand who they are?
No, I agree with you there.
Like when you go to Iron Man, now he's just Iron Man. We understand it. But we also had 10 years of films of either starring him or him coming in and being this character in other movies that we don't need that anymore.
Right.
So I have a question for you.
Go ahead.
You don't like Batman Begins?
I don't like
The Dark Knight.
Or The Dark Knight. I don't like either one of them.
You don't like Christian Bale as Batman.
I do not. Well, I enjoy the third film. I don't like Christian Bale as Batman.
It's the most ass-backwards thing I ever heard. I thought the worst was the third.
Because Batman Begins is kind of like the origin story, but it's not like the base origin. It is, okay, we all know Batman's parents were killed. We all know that he's on a vengeance to kill those that did it. But here's his training. Here's
how did
where
he get the
learns.
skills?
This is Batman's turning point of like he was with the League of Assassins and he decided to choose life over death over that person.
Look at where he was before the training.
Yep.
Was that troubled youth where he was going to murder the person that murdered his parents.
Right.
I really love the fact that you don't see Batman until like an hour and a half in, because I think it's really cool because that movie is Bruce Wayne's movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is. And then for the other ones, he kind of has a resurgence in the third movie, but for the second movie, that's that perfect middle chapter where he's there. He's already established, but now you get to play with this character, this story, and you get to do what several middle chapters do. Empire Strikes Back, Mass Effect 2 come to mind immediately for me, where you can take a break. You don't have to start it. You don't have to end it. Let's tell this awesome middle story that does so much with these great characters. Right. And I don't know where we're going.
I will say Mike did a great job you asking the question of oversaturation, because we are about to oversaturate the world with podcasts. I think it's time we make the announcement.
You think so? Oh, yeah. You know what? That's actually a perfect leading point. We're about halfway around the table at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I got this crazy, stupid idea in my head. I had seen a meme floating around that was like, if you start in the first week of January and watch every movie in the MCU one a week leading up, that you will see Black Panther like the week that Infinity War drops, and you'll have seen all of them, and be refreshed. So I was like, well, how can we take that concept and utilize it for the network so we can do something really fun? And I thought about it, and I said, well, what would you guys think about doing this? And we'll all review like 2 movies per whatever. Dick is apparently very excited to talk about this in some form or fashion.
Remember, I raised my hand.
But, true. So what we're going to do is, starting Wednesday, so in 2 days' time, and that's time travel for you folks that aren't quite time travelers with me, in 2 days' time, on the Journey into Comics Network Patreon. That's patreon.com/Journey into Comics. Brando and I did an exclusive episode where we reviewed Iron Man. Next week, it will be literature reviewing the Hulk, and so on. Every week, a different show from the network will be reviewing one of the movies in the MCU in order until we get to Infinity Wars. This is going to be the Journey into Comics Network Road to Infinity Wars, and I can't wait for you guys to listen to all the reviews. We're going to do a couple things. Brando, you wanted to set a precedent here. I feel it's important we say that for our listeners now. Every single episode will be a review of the movie with an out of 10 stars. I'm looking at you, not out of 7, out of 10. Okay,
just hang your head in shame.
You have to. You have to do it in 10.
How?
Because that's law. Okay, I have to keep it fair. Next up, we're gonna do Where's Stan. It's like Where's Waldo, but in the Journey into Comics, looking at these different MCU movies. So you'll talk about what cameo Stan Lee made. What was his character? What was he doing? And then what was the last one, Brandon? I feel like I forgot it.
It was the after credits.
Yes,
make sure to stick around or fast forward and just see where it's taking you. It's
whether it's 1 or 2.
Right, whether it's a mid or 2 or whatever. But because some movies have more than one. But for example, with the first Iron Man, just spoiler alert. Well, a certain
director
of sorts kind of shows up and has a little bit of a scene just to dip your toe in the water of we may be dealing with something a little bit bigger here than what just might be a regular movie or franchise just for one character. So then what's in the next one? What's in the next one? Oh, well, we might have a little crossover with the movie that just kind of came out a few months ago. Maybe a little bit more step forward.
Or teasing for the next movie.
What's in this one? Oh, it happens to be like a hammer of some sorts was found. Oh, well, okay. And it just try to keep that in mind. Of those are kind of like the 3 main things. Is like give it a score. Where's Stan? Because he has so many cameos. It's always funny to see what he's doing and where he's at in these movies. And then the after credit, that's what we kind of did at the end. It's like, okay, so where are we going? What's leading us out of this?
What will happen from this, though? What we will end up getting by the time the 18 weeks is done is actually, according to the network, a very accurate look at what we believe the MCU is ranked as. What is the best movie in the MCU? What is the worst movie in the MCU? Because it's not everybody's going to be in the same room at the same time, but you have to think. Brandon and I set a pretty decent precedent for the first review, I think. So I think it's very interesting just to what is coming out of this. You've got some interesting movies you guys are going to be doing on Podcastrophe and Game Addicts. Foodies has also got a couple. Voice of Survival has some. So I'm really looking forward to doing this. It's going to be a really fun, long road to Infinity War.
Yeah. This whole thing got completely spoiled today while recording Brews with Dudes, which is hilarious because this episode will premiere before that episode, so
Correct.
It wouldn't have been spoiled at all.
Not at all.
But yeah, he started. He's like, we're about to do something super awesome on Patreon, and it involves the whole network. And I'm like, hey,
Spoilers.
No. Which he actually just called me a minute ago. I don't know what he wants, but
well,
you need to take another pee break to call him?
No, I'm not gonna do that.
Considering it's your topic.
Yeah, you're up next.
Oh boy.
Again, patreon.com/Journey into Comics, starting January 3rd, working our way to
exclusive.
Yeah,
$3 a month.
$3
$1 for early access. You get every single show up to a week early access. But for $3, you'll get access to every single week. You'll get access to an exclusive review from one of the shows here on the network.
Absolutely. Blaine, take it away. What's your topic, bud?
My topic, and we are steering away from movies.
Yeah, thank you.
We're venturing into Game Addicts realm.
Oh.
So, what is everybody? What is your you had high anticipation for a video game, and what are your biggest video game letdowns?
Oh, I love this question.
Start us off, Nate.
Man, there's a couple that come to mind. I want to say that when I was working at GameStop, a lot of times we would get hyped on games that were coming out, and of course, the hype on the game is my way to sell other people the game, right? And that's just how marketing works. And I will never forget, and I think I talked about this on the 64 or the 360 retrospective, not the N64 retrospective. On the 360 retrospective, it was Vampire Rain. that game was supposed to be awesome, hunting vampires, shooting them, these crazy epic battles, and then like it's impossibly hard. They don't explain shit to you. You can't even get off the roof of the first level because you just immediately get attacked and killed by these vampires. Like, it's horrible. But that's definitely one that comes to mind. I think BioShock 2 would be the second, though, for sure, because BioShock 1 was such a great game, and then there's this anticipation for the sequel, and I think that sequel was a letdown. Of course, BioShock Infinite is a phenomenal game, but that would be my answer on that.
Okay.
2 is actually my favorite one in the franchise.
Oh, fucking course.
God damn it!
I am the king of
Always
unpopular
with the unpopular
opinions, and it continues. I loved playing as the prototype Big Daddy. I thought that was so cool.
But that's like the one thing in that entire game that makes it cool. The story as a whole is very lame and wonky.
Absolutely, it is. I don't disagree, but I was so enthralled with playing.
Was entertained.
Yeah, I was entertained. I was so enthralled with playing as a prototype Big Daddy that I loved it. You know, it was, I don't know, it felt different enough to me than the first one. Sorry, I had to interject.
That's all right. Brando, what about you?
Metal Gear Solid 5, The Phantom Pain.
Ooh.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, the ending, yeah.
Well, just like the last half of the game.
Yeah.
Essentially, the game, it's unfinished. It got released unfinished completely, and we've talked about this on the Game Addicts show, where games are just getting released unfinished. Gran Turismo Sport came out without a single player, and it's getting one added to it with DLC. That's kind of shit.
How do you release a game without single player? Like initially,
welcome to next year's game of the year is going to be the one with the most expensive loot boxes.
Warhawk, right? That was a game on PS3 that kind of started the precedent of multiplayer only.
Mag was
Mag.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the things that I dislike about Gran Turismo is the fact that you cannot upgrade your car. You buy the car, and that's what you have. Period. You cannot, because we talked about this on Game Addicts, where I pulled up an article and it was fake, and then I really started reading. People are like, "Yeah, you buy the car. That's what you race with. You can tweak the shocks and all that stuff, but you can't add components.
You can't customize it.
You cannot customize it."
With Phantom Pain. Okay, so this was Hideo Kojima's swan song, essentially.
Yep. Yeah.
And the overall arcing story where he was taking it was pretty cool. Because he was completing a circle.
It really was. It was awesome.
He was bringing it all the way around to the original Metal Gear. And I enjoyed most of it. But when it, narratively, the game, I feel in some terms, he was trying to do some cool things and got kind of lazy in some other things. Like, some of the more intriguing conversation, for classic Metal Gear, there's a lot of intriguing characters, a lot of intriguing dialogue. Gosh, some of those games are mountains of dialogue.
Absolutely.
And it's relegated to audio tapes that you listen to. The character you play as talks more in those tapes than he does in any of the regular scenes of the game.
Yeah.
There are audio tapes you get after beating the game that are awesome, but they don't take place in the game. So unless you ever go back, you never hear them. You get to mission 30, and there's a big pivotal moment in there where the story kind of just takes a halt. And then there are 40 missions, I think. And then there are I don't know if it's half of them or 4 of them, or just rehashes of missions you've already done harder.
You have to do the same exact thing harder.
And then, but then you'll get a brand new story thing here, and then you'll get it doesn't tie anything up. They just released it. And Kojima was booted out of Konami, and he was like, "Yep, this is my last game, guys. I hope you guys like it because it's as good as I'm going to be able to get it at this point."
Well, he didn't get to do hardly anything that he wanted to do. He got kind of the story.
Well, he got so far in it, but he never got it. He had to finish what he had,
right?
Essentially, because I got the collector's edition, which comes with a disc with the missing mission.
Yeah.
And that's when you go and you take on Little Boy Liquid, Little Boy Psycho Mantis with Cephalanthropus, what they stole, and you go and you basically destroy it or whatever. And you get to some of it's already done in cutscene, and the other stuff you just see storyboard stuff.
Yeah.
And it's just that was probably I'm such a big Metal Gear fan. And in my head, I was thinking, well, what's the biggest letdown? Because some of the other letdowns I've had, I sort of I can sort of like vouch for them a little bit. Like Mass Effect Andromeda is a letdown, but I don't think it's as bad as people say it is.
Yeah.
You know, it's got some downfalls to it, but nowhere near as the downfalls of an unfinished game.
Right.
Andromeda is not unfinished. It needed tweaked. Oh, a little here, a little here. You know, people say, "Oh, the animations, buddy, you have." I didn't see clear animations till I was already a man. Damn it!
Right.
You know,
Yeah.
right? You know, like I can live with that as long as the story's all right and as long as the story's good. When the story's incomplete, that's bad. And the story of Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain is just completely incomplete.
It was very undeserving. The series
Yes.
is very undeserving of that game.
But however, the gameplay is like the best gameplay of the entire series.
Oh yeah,
Which is
by
like
far.
So like I still enjoyed playing it, but it was so bittersweet. And I'll always remember like my son was so little, and he was sitting here in his like rock and play, and looking up at me like with his eyes crossed, and I'm sitting there playing, and I'm just like looking down at him every once in a while, and I'm wearing headset so I can hear the, you know, all these audio tapes you got to freaking listen to get any story, you know, and it's like any and all potential that this game had to be the ultimate send off was completely wasted.
It was.
I guess it would be your turn.
You just mentioned mine. It's Mass Effect Andromeda. Not because the game was bad. I loved the game. It's definitely not the best game in the franchise. The combat was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Best in the series. The story was a little bit lackluster, but, you know, it was the start of a new chapter in the Mass Effect world. And I got into it. I enjoyed it. I played the hell out of it. I 100%ed it. So, obviously, I enjoyed it.
It's more than what I did.
But it's the biggest letdown for me because it killed the franchise.
You always see Casey Hudson saying, "We're not done with it," but they also didn't feel the need. See, in my opinion, early access killed that game.
Absolutely, it
Them
did.
putting that game out so early, and people just got turned off on it by this game's a piece of crap. There is a lot of repetitiveness to that game, which is one of its downfalls to me.
But tell me what major video game isn't slightly repetitive?
Oh no, I totally get, I totally get that statement. But the unfortunate thing is that the game didn't sell nearly enough for them to warrant to continue the story with DLC. And there's so many unanswered questions, and now we don't know if we're going to get a continuation of Andromeda, and other than novels that are coming out.
Best thing about that was the multiplayer because they literally changed nothing.
It was tweaked, but
it was tweaked. But that's all I did. I got on there, played the multiplayer, because that's what I always do. Is I got to play the multiplayer. Say, okay, what do I want to do in the main story? I got off the first planet, and I was like, yeah, I'm not feeling this at all. It didn't grasp me at all. But this is coming from somebody that hasn't played one or two.
Well, shame, by the way.
Yeah, shame.
Mass Effect 2 is like masterpiece.
I know.
The greatest in the franchise.
I saw something today. Yesterday. It was shared by a Mass Effect fan page called the Alliance, and it had a bunch of pictures with the little motions, the thumbs up, the heart, the wow face. It's like, wow, you're getting blown the F up.
Yeah.
And it was like, who's your favorite Turian besides Garrus? And it gave you like a list of 6. You know, is it Nihilus? Is it this one? Is it that one?
Vetra or
Vetra.
Nyreen.
So it was like, to me, it's Vetra. I fell in love with the Vetra character. I thought she was awesome.
For me, it's Nihilus because there's so much they could do with Nihilus that we never got to see.
Well, and there's that.
That's something that I really wanted to see.
Like pre.
Jesus.
God, it's gonna break the table.
God damn.
Dive into the background of Nihilus and get his earlier, earlier Spectre days before his untimely end. But I guess we'll go with Mike.
Final Fantasy 15.
15.
The gameplay was. I love the gameplay. It was phenomenal.
Watch the movie first.
Watch the movie first. Story is horrible. There's no path. It's just like fragments thrown at you in an obscure order, and you're trying to figure out what's really going on. Like, you don't even know what's going on. Your car breaks down, you go do this, and then about what do you say? About 6 hours into the game, you find out that your land, your country has fallen, and nothing's ever really explained about the Empire. I know it because
because you watched the movie.
Watched the movie, and I know. I mean, but
all right. So a lot of the characterization, I guess, is coming into play with these single player DLC that is like focusing on the side characters, like that are with Noctis,
right?
Ignis, Prompto, and all these guys. Now, the last one, Ignis, just came out, and from my understanding, it's pretty good. Guess what they just announced? A second season pass. Because they got to add more story.
Oh.
So the first season pass is going to
What
get
a
you...
fucking joke.
Yeah.
I think I made 25 hours into it just because I enjoyed the combat. Like I did
Combat's
every
fun,
mission
yeah,
before
sure.
I'd move on. Like if you went to a rest stop, I never left that rest stop until I was completely done with everything I could physically do. There are some missions that are
too high.
Too high, like you kill the tortoise. I don't know his name, but the super
Adamantoids?
Yes. You can't do that, obviously, until later on. But the summons, that was terrible. You had to be dying to use the summons. Why
desperation move.
Yeah, it's a desperation move that wipes everything out. Why can't it be like you can use it once a day, or like other stuff?
Let it have its own recharge type thing. Yeah,
where you can only use them in a certain area. Like you can only use, let's say Levy if you were in the water area, like whatever. I can't.
That
remember
makes
the name.
sense.
Like you can't summon him because there's not a large body of water, so he's not just going to pop out of the ground and water's not going to sprout from everywhere. What was that?
I'm not really sure what that was. That was a bizarre noise.
That was the cat talking.
Oh, the cat was talking.
Thanks for your input, Kitty.
We're talking about a game. How many years? 12.
Got announced in 2006 because they announced like here's 13 and here's versus 13.
So it's 10.
Both terrible games.
But this is the thing, is like...
That's 12, because 2018.
That came out in 2016.
Well, the game came out in 2016.
Wait, was it 16 or 15? I don't remember. 16.
16.
Yeah.
So, 10 years. I understand that it was started, scrapped, multiple times.
Yeah.
But at this point, it literally looked like it was a fragmented story mashed together and said, here you go. Which... as we said, watch the movie first because then you actually know what the fuck's going on. Right. It's very disappointing because outside of 10, there has been no good Final Fantasy.
I like 12. I thought 12 was good.
I didn't like it. I did not.
Did you play all the way through it?
I got... God, how many hours did I get? I can't remember.
You enjoyed 12, right, Brandon?
Enjoy is a relative term.
Okay.
Did you enjoy 12 more than 13 and versus 13?
Okay, here's the thing. Yeah, I need to go back and I need to play 12.
Oh, you haven't played it?
No, I boycotted it.
Okay.
Because I played the demo and I flipped my table.
Because there was no turn-based?
Yes. Because I said, this is Knights of the Old Final Fantasy. That's what it was to me. And I was okay with there being Knights of the Republic, but this is my Final Fantasy. You don't mess with my Final Fantasy. I think I'm over that now, and I think I could probably play it. And I do want to get the remaster on the PS4.
Oh, it looks great.
So I can sit down with a clear mode of view. Because I remember our pal Silent Rob thing. Hey Rob, how you doing? He played it, or most of it, and he liked it. And he was like, you need to play this. And I'm like, they ruined it. Ruined. And that's the thing, is that like I have the 13 trilogy, and I kind of want to give it more of a fair shot now. But it's just...
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, Blaine.
I have 3 games.
Oh God,
friggin' 3.
God.
I'll just start with the one that like least bothers me the most, but it was a huge letdown. The Turok remake.
Oh God.
Okay.
It was pretty bad.
It was really bad.
Pretty bad.
I was very excited for it because as a child, that was one of the first games on the N64 I played was Turok.
You talking about the Turok that came out on Xbox 360 and PS3?
Is that Evolution?
No. Turok Evolution was PS2, and that was awesome.
What was
it was awesomely shitty.
I think it was just Turok.
It was just Turok. It was just Turok.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just Turok, and it was a complete reboot. It has nothing to do with anything in the actual series. It was just a modernization of the game. Honestly, it was. Yeah,
and it sucked.
Yeah, I enjoyed the fact that I could like one hit kill everything with my knife on the context kill. That was cool. The bow was cool. I always enjoy a game where I have a bow. I don't know why, because Bows are just cool. So moving forward, my next biggest letdown was Star Wars: The Force Unleashed 2.
Really?
Okay.
I
was gonna say I was waiting for is he gonna say 2?
Oh yeah,
1
2
was pretty cool.
1 was pretty good. Yeah.
It had its parallels to Empire.
You yanked a fucking Star Destroyer out of the sky.
Yeah, Force
How is
Unleashed
that
1,
not badass,
awesome.
you know?
Aside from its combat bugs and whatnot,
Right.
it wasn't a perfect game, but it was still fun, and I enjoyed the story. 2, the story was very condensed, very short.
Yes.
You end up revisiting the same things way too soon,
Right.
and it was just a letdown.
It was just a money grab.
It
is all it was.
And it probably would have been okay if they would have gone forward and done a Force Unleashed 3, because that's where that movie was leading.
Mm-hmm. Game.
That game was leading. Because at the spoiler alert, at the end of Force Unleashed 2, you see Boba Fett's ship, the Slave One, following everybody. I can't remember who.
What I like about the first one is that when the TIE fighters are coming at you, you can just literally
You can
swat
rip it.
them out of the air.
You
grab
can
them.
rip it out of the sky and
Yes.
throw it into another
That was
one.
Sweet.
Yes,
That's a
Force
little
Unleashed was
overpowered, but it was
such
so
a fun
sweet.
game, because I remember watching the making of that game, and they're like, "What do we do? What if we took somebody who is sensitive with the Force and just cranked it up to a fucking 11?" You know, and
Beautiful sound
that's
effect, by the
exactly
way.
what it is. Yeah.
There's so much that they could have done with that series.
Yeah. Yes. And Starkiller, Galen Merrick.
Yes.
Galen Merrick. Awesome character.
Well, they took a real life actor, did really good mocap for the cutscenes and the
it's
gameplay.
not called mocap anymore. It's called motion performance.
All right. Well, I'm saying
Mopo?
mocap, and you're a
Mopo.
and you're a douchebag. But I'm just kidding.
That's what Andy
We're life
Serkis will
partners.
say.
He's really not kidding.
That's what Andy Serkis will say. It's not mocap anymore.
It's Mopo. But I feel you there. That's why it's a letdown for me, because there was so much potential, and then we ended up with the second one.
At the end of Force Unleashed 2, you don't really realize, you don't know if Starkiller is a clone of Starkiller or if he is the real Starkiller.
Right.
Because the whole point of the game or the story was okay, so Starkiller was badass, and we have these cloning vats. Let's see if we can try to make a more obedient Starkiller.
Mm-hmm.
And you were.
I thought you were about to say a more obese Starkiller.
Fat Star.
That would have been an awesome skin mod.
Need 2 number 9s.
Some DLC. And then, so at the end of the game, you have 2 choices, which I really enjoyed the dark side ending of the first game, where you basically you get everybody killed, you get yourself basically completely killed, and Vader dies.
Dude, that's not the end of the game. You just sucked and died really early.
No,
It's like Act 2.
but you kill Vader. At the end of the first game, you have a choice: either save your friends or take your vengeance on Vader. If you choose Vader, that's the dark side route. Basically, you fight Vader, and then you fight the Emperor.
Oh yeah.
In a lightsaber fight, which is absolutely awesome. But once you are about to defeat him, he just initiates a cutscene, and it's like, well, fuck your friends, fuck you, you're dead. Oh, I'm gonna make you into my apprentice now, and that's when you get this badass armor thing and
Pseudo Vader.
I
think I'm too altruistic to play as a bad guy in Star Wars. I always play Jedi.
Yes.
Every time.
I was the same way until I played Knights of the Old Republic.
Oh yeah,
and then I was
I went
dark side
Sith.
as fuck.
I went Sith my first playthrough.
Oh, same.
I was like, yep,
Fuck
I'm
you,
Darth
Karth.
Revan.
Fuck you, Carl.
I am Darth Revan. But
Making Zalbar kill mission. He's like, no, I can't. It's like, life debt, motherfucker.
do it.
And then
Love it.
and then getting on like it's funny because then you go up to to the Starforge, and Zalbar's like, what have I done? It's like, and it's like, all right, I got 2 droids, and you, Canderous, come on.
I love Canderous.
Oh yeah, he's so great.
Dude, John Sagan, he died just not too long ago.
Oh really?
Yeah, the voice actor for Canderous.
Damn,
Solid Snake.
man.
Yeah, R.I.p. But no,
R.I. motherfucking P.
Kotar was the beginning. It's like, as soon as I found out that you could be Darkseid, I'm like, that's cool. And then in practice, you're like, I'm just ending conversations with, no, you're dead.
Meat
It's
bag.
easy mode.
Oh yeah, dude, it is easy mode.
It's difficulty select without actually selecting a difficulty. It's just like, well,
and then those stupid Jedis are like, yeah, let's teach him how to use the Force again. It's like, yeah, sure, yeah.
I've only been fucking killing people left and right since I left Terrace.
Dude, on Terrace, I murdered folks. Okay, it's like, well, he'll be all right. And little Yoda dude that doesn't talk backwards. So I'm thinking it's just a Yoda thing.
What was his name?
You have
Vendar.
something like that.
With the Force, strong you is.
What?
Heritage.
Jesus.
I'm curious to know. I'm curious to know what your third game is.
Oh, I'll get there.
Yeah, get there.
So Force Unleashed 2, like, it was just a disappointment in terms of the combat. They were just copying God of War.
He's becoming a Last Jedi hater. But
no.
I'm kidding. Not of The Last Jedi, but of Force Awakens 2. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I don't know. I tried replaying that game, and I was just like, it didn't have the replayability that the first one had.
I agree with that.
Although there's a lot of good stuff there, but it's just not enough for me to be like, God, I was so excited for that game.
The DLC when you're on Endor.
Oh, that was
the
fun.
mood of Endor, and you actually get to kill like everybody.
Because you play which was what I was leading to in the dark side ending of the second game. I think once again it's you go to kill Vader, and he's just like. It's literally not even anything close to what the first game's Dark Side ending was, which you get to keep playing and keep playing. This game is just like, you go to kill Vader, and it's like, nope, cutscene. Oh, he had another clone, and that clone actually was perfect and obedient. Not obese. And he just fucking straight up, like, lightsabers you from behind, and you're dead, and that's the end of it. Which the DLC continues on from that point, where you go to Endor, and you fight Chewie in an AT-ST, and it's just like, so you fucking get to kill Chewie and
you pull
Han.
him out and like stab him.
Oh yeah, it was nuts, and you get to kill Ewoks. That was the best.
I want some more of those tone thighs right here.
So like, Force Awakens 2, it was trying way too hard to be God of War.
Okay.
And with that, I segue into my third and the biggest disappointment in video games I've ever had, which was God of War Ascension.
Thank you for bringing that up.
That game was so fucking beautiful, and it takes place right after he kills his family and decides he wants to say fuck you Ares. But because he says fuck you Ares, he basically goes back on his vow or whatever to him. His pact, and that is very frowned upon in the Greek mythology.
Indeed.
In fact, it's punishable by you get basically sent to this prison overseen. Yeah, there's the word, by the Furies, which were there when the Primordials were created.
The Fury.
So before the Titans, before the gods, before the Titans, there was the Primordials, and then these Furies were created, and they're basically, if you betray a god, you get punished by the Furies. And so he, in order to break his bond with Ares, he has to kill the Furies. And it was a beautiful game. The graphics, insane. The cutscenes looked really good, but you just didn't get the Kratos that you'd always come to love. Which, to an extent, I like the fact that they showed a different side of Kratos, because this was before. You would think he'd be super rage-filled, but no, he is very remorseful. He is a very quiet Kratos in this game.
Interesting.
He's very remorseful of what he's done, and once you actually, it doesn't get until the very end where he actually sets out on his vengeance for Ares. That you're like, okay, I see where the rage is going to come in the first God of War game.
Yes,
and that's one thing I always loved about Kratos was just this. You set him off, and he just went into this rage, and I love it. At the end of God of War 3, Zeus says, "Oh, you're gonna get her killed, just like you got your family killed," and you instantly see Kratos snap. Ow! I just popped my fucking hand.
Did you really just do that?
Wow, that
was crazy.
That was like sent tingles through my hand.
Beta.
But you see him just like, fuck you, and just charge Zeus. And it's like, god damn, and I wanted that so bad in Ascension, but...
Like, Zuki looked at you and just, like, open mouth meow, but nothing.
Yeah, he does that a lot.
He tried. He put in his 30%.
Silent meow.
Really sounds like they put in their 30% making Ascension.
Yeah.
I still haven't bought the game to this day.
I bought the collector's edition, which had a badass steel book. I might add, it was black with the Omega symbol and gold. It was beautiful.
Okay, so you said beta, right?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see what I named the episode which you guys were on last for episode 60?
I remember watching it. I don't remember what the title.
Beta and Omega, and it had a double meeting because you've been saying beta, but we also talked about the beta, beta and Omega. Anyway,
love it.
Is it me now?
I think it is your turn.
Oh shit!
Hold on a second.
Oh
no,
Jesus.
you start. Oh wait, no, never mind.
No, what?
I just got a Snapchat from Cameron.
Okay.
Wedges.
Oh, Wedges.
And he commented on my snap that I took of all of us, and I the caption I put was "Nerds of the Round Table." He said, "That's a square." Fuck you, Cameron.
Fuck you, Cameron.
Fuck your definition of round.
That's a square.
Go
ahead.
I guess to wrap it up, we are journeying into comics.
Well, did you even do your topic?
No, I'm doing it now. I'm wrapping it with my topic.
Back her down
My
a
topic
peg,
is
Hoss.
Hey, I'm just. It sounded like to me you were like going to wrap up the entire show.
Yeah, that was a great show, guys.
That was a great show. What name?
Okay, so I'm going to bring up a kind of heavy, I don't know if it's really heavy topic, but I think it's a very interesting topic because this is something I wanted to ask Robert Kirkman personally. That's not something that's so easily done. So I'm going to ask you guys, why isn't there more comic book characters in this modern era that have some useful reason to utilize cannabis? We are in a place now where a lot of states are legalizing it, recreational, medical, whatever.
Not enough states.
Correct. But my thing is, like, think about The Walking Dead. What makes that universe survivable? Do you think you can just go to sleep at night after dealing with walkers and Negan and the governor and the hunters and the fucking cannibals and the fucking terminus and all these different things and the whisperers for that matter? Is there somebody in the universe that is that they need to introduce as a character who utilizes it as a way to, you know, not be a crazy person? This is not the 70s or 80s when the drug issues happened for Spider-Man. I don't know if you guys are privy to the drug issues, but, you know, the Comic Code Authority said you can't release these, and Marvel went, yeah, we can. Watch, I'll print them right now. It just won't have your stupid fucking seal, because they wanted to tackle tough topics. And I think the reality is cannabis has been demonized for so long. And the reality is it's not something that should be demonized. So in the medium of comic books, and I know a lot of kids read comics, that's the first thing I see your guys going, but kids. It doesn't have to be in all the kid-based titles. That's why I'm more meaning in like your more serious books, The Walking Dead, stuff that has real-life issues. You can't tell me Rick Grimes is in pain all the time and is just relying on opioids to survive in the zombie apocalypse when he could grow a plant. Like, come on now. So what are your guys' thoughts on that? Everybody looks around and is terrified to speak on this topic. I feel.
I agree. I mean,
okay,
but I don't really know. Like, I'm not canon on anything that's really.
Well, it doesn't matter what's.
Now,
but what is your opinion on them maybe making the swing towards that becoming more the norm? Because it has to be almost utilized sparingly to create the normalization of this. And I'm not saying that Spider-Man's smoking weed on top of the fucking Empire State Building.
Why not?
But I am saying
think about how of a hero he would be if he
but how fucking but think about how hilarious it would be if the Guardians just are celebrating and they're like, we've got this Earth plant that's technically illegal, but we're not on Earth, you know, and then they partake, and then like Groot's just like,
they're just like,
am Groot.
They're just like, fuck the Nova Corps.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know, and that's another thing to think about too. When I say
just asleep,
Groot, I am.
Groot, I am.
Dude, Groot. A plant would be smoking a plant. How
does that work?
Cannibalism? Is that cannibalism?
Groot just rips off a big bong, and like you see, like his arms turn into roots in the floor.
I am Root. I guess my thing is too also is that the quote-unquote stereotypical stoner gets almost over sensationalized of like, you know, you smoke weed, you're lazy, you know, you have no drive.
Shaggy from Scooby-Doo.
Correct. Like exactly. And I like know a lot. I feel like I know several people who are successful, driven business people who also smoke weed. So, thanks, Scooby. So I don't know. I'm just thinking about it, and you're going to have like a normalization of this at some point. If it is legal in all 50 states, it will be eventually tackled in comics. You're not going to avoid it.
Right.
You have characters that drink. Why don't you have characters that smoke?
Well, yeah. Look at what came to mind immediately was the Punisher.
Thank you.
That would be a good one. Yeah.
He pretty much drinks himself to death constantly. You know, that guy's got to relax sometime.
Be a hell of a lot cooler if he did.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I think you... Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're fine. Go ahead.
I think you tackling The Walking Dead is basically... I think that would be the benchmark, because if you're living in that kind of society... like
how do you cope?
How do you live? How do you do anything? Like, how can you live with yourself if you've had to kill somebody? Like, you had to kill a kid or...
I'm just thinking of like...
Call.
Okay, we're waiting. We're all sitting here looking at it.
That was such a dramatic
stop. Do you have a stoner moment or something here? Like, pregnant pause.
The walls are down, man. Did anybody ever just blink a lot? It's just something I noticed. That's bad, right? With them in the wall, that's somebody ought to do something about that.
This is the perfect moment for live streaming. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Is your guys' mouth really dry?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is it?
Did you guys close the gate in cell block C?
Are our mouths really dry, or do they just?
Or are they just not wet?
Or yeah.
Or yeah.
Did you swallow a bunch of sand?
It's, you know, it's kind of like somebody saying, "Man, the weather's trippy." It's like, no, man. Maybe it's not the weather that's trippy. It's just how we perceive the weather that is in fact trippy. When you should have just said, "Yeah." Here's the thing. All right, I don't oppose to like anything cannabis at all. I don't oppose to it. The only thing would be is to like, does it fit the story? Does it fit the character? And so like that with anything, whether it's like all of a sudden this dude's got a drinking problem, it's like, well, does that coincide with what his character has been and where it's going? It's got to fit. It's got to fit the story. It's got to fit the characterization. Shoehorning it in just to shoehorn it in, just because it's becoming a more modern place in our day in society, that's not good for anybody, because it's like, oh, well, this dude suddenly, it's like, well, you know, he's sitting back with a cigarette, you know. Sure, I mean, you've got to like, you know, utilize your certain judgment as far as like that's normal. People don't think about cigarettes, and
right.
People really shouldn't think about weed in the same manner either. I feel like people should think about it in the same way, like as a drink or as a shot or anything like that. But like the problem with it right now is that you are correct. It has been so stigmatized and has been so demonized that it is slowly becoming legal. But there's still a very a select few of people who are in control of politics that don't want it to be legal, whether it's from money from pharmaceutical companies, whether it's their own personal moral belief, incorrect moral belief, but moral belief nonetheless. So for them to do that right now would be a political statement charged at focusing here, which really, like, you can do political statement in comics, but is it pertinent to that story?
Who are you servicing in that?
Who are you, like, if you're doing it just to say, well, you know, make a political statement, this should not be illegal. It's like, well, okay, fine, but then you're going to get a complete sect of people who are just against it without ever even having read the story. And what is this about? Why is this character doing this in this manner?
Well, I'm going to give you straight up an idea of talking about The Walking Dead and how would I introduce it. Does it serve a purpose? And I have a perfect segue for that. Yes, it serves a purpose. We just, read The Walking Dead 174 and Negan's story. And he has this coming together moment with Maggie. She chooses not to kill him. Now, he's living his life suffering from legit guilt he realizes has just overburdened him, right?
So are you telling me that his next character development is that he is everyone's dealer?
No, not that he's everyone's dealer. That would be hilarious, though. I mean, if that was
he's sitting there, instead of the bat, he's got like the shovel, but like moving plants. He's already did that to some part.
I like that, but no, the thing I would do though is that Negan would return, to Rick, and Rick would be like, "There's a calm about you, like what's going on?" And then like it would flash forward to them around a campfire, passing a joint. He's just like, "Man, honestly." Before all this, it was illegal. I wouldn't have thought twice about it, I would have got yelled at by my parents. But for some reason, this helped me to cope. And it's
that's
just
not
like
Negan, though. He would have done it then if it was illegal.
Well, because, I don't know about that because, he's crazy, but he's not. I mean, I don't know if he's that.
No, he was the badass guy.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
He was the gym teacher. He's the cool guy.
I guess that's another thing. Why hasn't it even been brought up? Like, if he did do that at some point, why hasn't he brought up, like, once I got arrested for...
In the show, they have all the weed. Like, so you're telling me Negan doesn't smoke weed? And they had all that weed?
Did they have weed in the show?
Dude, absolutely. They had it, at the satellite place.
Really?
Yeah, dude. They found it like, whoa. It's like, they got the weed. they had a farm in there. So, like... He's definitely smoking the weed, and honestly, that's probably why he's so chill about killing people.
I don't know, man. That's just my Dick. What's your thoughts on this? I'm going to totally just throw it your way because you've not said much at all.
Honestly, I don't have. That's why I haven't said much on it. I don't have much of opinion.
Okay,
I'm for it, but
I'm for it.
Not against it. I'm for it.
I choose not.
Myself,
but
well, yeah,
I'm for whatever.
Well, that's cool.
All right.
I wish I could have more input for this. I'm sorry.
That's okay. That's what nerds
of
the round. Oh, That's a clip moment on the podcast. Holy shit,
we've had a lot of those in
loud in my ears.
Recent history.
I love that I'm endurance, by the way. With the Energizer Bunny, I just keep going. All right, well, I think that's going to wrap it for this episode. We've talked for 2 hours and change now, so that's pretty excellent. There's a dog bark, so it's truly an episode of Journey into Comics or something like that on the network here. I want to thank you guys so much for joining me, but before we get out of here, let's talk about the plugs. As always, you guys can listen to Journey into Comics on all the awesome podcast services. First and foremost, listen to us on Podbean. Go to journeyintocomics.com. I kind of flubbed through that one a little bit, but go to journeyintocomics.com. You can check us out there. Most of the network shows on there. Podbean, our hosting site, we appreciate them, this being feature week. Mm-hmm. Also get us on iTunes, Stitcher Radio, Google Play Music, now on Spotify. That's awesome. All week, you're going to get Journey into Comics, another show tomorrow, new Poor Report Wednesday, Foodies on Thursday, Podcastrophe and Game Addicts. Friday, a new butt stuff. Saturday, Brews with Dudes. And then Sunday, we'll have a wrap-up where we have a little highlight of all the cool shit that goes on the network. As always, check us out on all the different social media sites, whether it's Facebook at Journey into Comics Podcast, Instagram at Journey into Comics, and or Twitter at JIC Network. Give us a 5-star review on iTunes. We really appreciate it. I think that's going to do it, Brando. Anything else to add to hit this? Oh, Patreon, as we said, patreon.com/Journey into Comics. Join the road to Infinity War. Okay, I'm done here. Go ahead, Brando.
That's it.
That's it?
That's all you had.
I opened my mouth to say Patreon, and you were like, Patreon!
Okay, I got it.
That's
all right.
all I have to say about that.
Well, Dick, thank you for joining us.
Thank you. I got to say, for those listening, definitely tune in on Thursday for Podcastrophe because we got fucked up. Drunkastrophe happened.
Yes.
And Tyler was on the show.
Yes.
Also, Nick Maxon from Brews with Dudes. Just please enjoy the chaos.
And make sure to share all this because we're going to be doing that all week. But Mike, thanks for coming back to Journey into Comics. It's awesome to have you again.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah. Thanks for me finally waking my ass up and getting us here. I guess you got us here. I just woke up.
Yeah, you did. And,
I teleported.
Everybody head over to GameAddictsPodcast.com and search some of those awesome podcast services that we mentioned before to find the podcast over there because We are a part of the network. We're not a part of this main feed here that you're going to be seeing. So check us out over there. And this week we are discussing the NES, the original Nintendo Entertainment System.
Yes.
Awesome. Can't wait to hear that episode. Tyler, thanks for coming back again.
Thanks for having me again.
Twice in the 70s here. So you're a 2-time in the 170s guest. I like that.
Got my bell bottoms on.
I like whatever that karate move was. Like
my heritage. Hit him with that heritage.
All right, folks. Well, as the Nerds the Round Table goes, this was episode 172 of Journey into Comics. I've been Nate.
Brando.
Tyler.
Mike.
Dick.
And we'll see you guys later. Keep filling your brains with shit.